Philadelphia.
Independent Black Media.
The views and opinions expressed by the guests, listeners, and hosts of any program on WURD Radio do not necessarily reflect those of ownership, management, or advertisers of this station.
Get up on out the bed and start to move your balls and seek up a word in Solomon Jones. Word.
You better wake up now.
You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there. You can feel it.
Get up on out the bed and start to move your balls and seek up a word in Solomon Jones.
You better wake up now.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD, and I want to welcome you back to Wake Up with Word. We got a whole lot to talk about today. You know, I am concerned about what's happening in Philadelphia. I'm concerned about the protests that have, in some cases, turned violent. I'm concerned about some folks coming into our community. You heard me, coming into our community and breaking into stores, starting looting and watching other people join in. I'm concerned about that because we are less than a week from the election, and that is playing into the hands of Donald Trump. That is playing into the hands of those who want to portray us as violent, who want to portray us as wrong, who want to portray us as unworthy of the equality that we are seeking and, in fact, demanding and have been demanding since we've landed on these shores. I woke up, and I'm not one to wake up. Let me tell you something. I sleep like a baby. I sleep like a baby because I know that every day I try to be the best man that I can be. And so that allows me to sleep soundly most nights, right? But last night I woke up really thinking about what's going on in our city with some of the elements that are inserting themselves into the protests. And I thought about the way that really plays into a law and order message. See, look at these N-words. See, look at these people. See, look, they deserve everything that they get. And that is not the message that we want to amplify. And so we need to talk about that today because I think we need to be angry. I think we need to be protesting. I think we need to be out in the streets. But I think we need to be smart about what we are doing, what we are engaging in, and what we are allowing other people to come into our neighborhoods and do. So I want to talk about that, but I also want to talk about black folks in general, because many of us have been wondering why President Obama was so quiet for the past 3 years while Donald Trump bashed him every day. But it's becoming more obvious to me that Obama's been saving his best stuff for the campaign to get Trump out of office. Yesterday, Obama offered a seething rebuke of Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law, after the White House senior advisor said that for President Trump's economic policies to work, black Americans had to want to be successful. Wait, what? I'm quoting Obama now, who said this. Kushner says black folks have to want to be successful, Obama said in Orlando. Who are these folks? What history books do they read? Who do they talk to? I'll tell you who they talk to. They talk to each other, Mr. President, because if they knew black people as anything other than caricatures, they would know how hard we work, how much we sacrifice, how much we do to get half as much. If they knew us beyond their own stereotypes, they'd know that we built this country, that their wealth comes from us, and that we are the foundation of America's success. I'm glad they called out Jared Kushner for his racist remark. Now it's time for the voters to call Trump out of the White House. We got a hot show for you today on Wake Up with Word. We'll talk with Ambassador and former U.S. Senator Carol Moseley Braun about the presidential race, Temple professor Lynn Washington on the history of police shootings in Philadelphia and how that history impacts the Walter Wallace case, Georgetown researcher and Professor Sabrina Corlett on the Affordable Care Act and what would happen if it was shot down or crippled by the Supreme Court. Plus, your favorite cousin of mine, dear Melanie, has another hilarious answer to one of life's biggest questions. And as always, we've got you, our listeners, calling in at 215-634-8065 or toll free 1-866-361-0900. Hit us on Twitter and Instagram at onWURD, or you can hit me personally at Solomon Jones 1. Watch us on Facebook at onWURD. But first, it's the big three, the news stories you need to know to kick off your day right here on Wake Up with Word. Story number one, the coronavirus is spreading so rapidly in Philadelphia that the city's contact tracing program no longer has the ability to track every case, city officials said yesterday, while they urged residents to cancel all holiday gatherings. And Pennsylvania reported a record number of new cases as the city contends with the renewed surge of the virus, which has seen more than 38,000 Pennsylvanians newly infected in October alone. And if it continues into the winter, Philadelphia Health Commissioner Thomas Farley said it may be the worst period of the entire epidemic. City officials were considering whether to impose additional restrictions and told residents to stay home as much as possible. The swamping of the contact tracing program held some echoes of the spring when the virus was spreading so rapidly that the city quickly prioritized mitigation over containment. So what that means is this. It means be careful. It means stay home as much as you can. It means wash your hands. It means use your hand sanitizer. It means wear your mask. But you know what else it means? It means vote. Get out there and vote. We would not be in the situation that we are in if the president had handled this thing like it should have been handled. Imagine the health professionals. I've never seen this in my life, right? You've got the health professionals, the doctors, the people who are supposed to know how to handle this, the people who've been working on viruses and diseases their whole lives, right? Telling you one thing, and you got the president telling you something else, actually making fun of them, actually trying to undercut them, actually trying to act like there's something wrong with them, for them telling us, no, this is a serious thing. People are going to die. You need to wear masks. You need to wash your hands. You need to keep your distance. And what does the president do? He holds packed rallies with people with no masks on. He doesn't have a mask on himself. You know, he's not taking this thing seriously. We would not be at this point if we had the kind of leadership that knows how to listen to those who know what they're talking about. This the same dude that stood up and was like, yeah, well, when it comes to Iran and Iraq, I know more than the generals do. Dude, you ain't never served in no military in your life. What do you mean you know more than the generals do? You know, this is this same dude. So if you want this thing to really be handled in the way that it needs to be handled, we need new leadership, man. You got to get out and vote. Yeah, wear your mask, wash your hands, keep your distance, do all of that stuff. But you know what? We need new leadership. You must get out and vote. Story number two, the Pennsylvania National Guard has been deployed to Philadelphia after a second night of unrest and looting following the fatal police shooting of Walter Wallace Jr. in West Philadelphia on Monday. The deployment comes as the city braces for potentially more violence for Wallace's family calls for peace. The National Guard says several hundred members are being deployed to the city at the request of Philadelphia. 30 police officers were injured during violent protests Monday night, including a female officer who suffered a broken leg after being hit by a truck. Scores of West Philadelphia businesses were looted. A number of stores across Philadelphia have started boarding up their windows in anticipation of more looting. Look, Walter Wallace's family has asked that there be no violence, that there be no looting, that we protest peacefully. That's what his family has asked, and I think we should respect what his family has asked. But at the same time, you know, when I think about the conditions of Philadelphia, when I think about the fact that we have allowed our city to get to the point where 1 in 4 Philadelphians live in poverty, and have allowed it to stay at that point, right? When I think about the fact that our tax dollars go to people who have no intention of sharing them with black folks. I'm thinking about the building trades. I'm thinking about city contracts going to them freezing black people out, and then wondering why people are so desperate that when they get the opportunity, they would loot. We've allowed our city to get to this point, right? And then you want to tell people, oh, well, don't go out and do that because, well, 1 in 4 people live in poverty. We've got the highest deep poverty rate of any big city in America. I'm not saying it's right, but what I'm saying is this. This situation has been created by the very government that right now is telling us, oh, don't go loot, don't do this, don't do that, and you shouldn't. But what I'm saying is that I understand the desperation. I understand the poverty. I understand the hopelessness, because you know what? Hopelessness can sometimes trump morality. Poverty can sometimes trump morality. And so we can say all that stuff all we want. What are we going to do about the underlying poverty that would allow someone to abandon morality and go out and do what they got to do? We have to address the core issues that are going on in our city and beyond. And the core issue in Philadelphia is poverty. Poverty that has allowed to fester in this city. Which brings me to story number 3, my commentary for the day. When I watched the video of Walter Wallace Jr. being gunned down by 2 Philadelphia police officers on Monday, I was sure of one thing. This would not have happened if Wallace were white. In America, police give white men the benefit of the doubt. That's true when white men are armed, like the bat-wielding white vigilantes in Fishtown who assaulted people after the George Floyd protests. It's true when they're white supremacists like Dylan Roof, who was taken to Burger King by police after killing 9 African Americans. Black men like Wallace don't get those kind of breaks. Wallace was having a mental health crisis when police were called to his family residence around 61st and Locust for the 3rd time that day. When Wallace left the porch and walked to the street with his mother trying to calm him down, the officers pulled guns. Then as Wallace walked toward them with the knife, the 2 officers, who were not equipped with tasers, by the way, fired at least 7 bullets apiece. This even as Wallace's mother begged police not to shoot her son. Now, maybe you can imagine a white mother begging police not to shoot her mentally ill son and police shooting him anyway, but I can't. And that's the problem. When cops shoot black people, they know their unions and other enablers will support them no matter what. That's wrong, it's racist, and it must stop. Walter Wallace would not have faced the barrage of bullets, endangering bystanders and his family if he were a white man in a white community. White mass murderers get better treatment than that. And if we're going to save the next Walter Wallace, we first have to face that truth. I want to hear from you. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number that you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. Let us know where you are at any of these things we are talking about on this morning's show. 215-634-8065 is the number that you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD. There is so much to talk about around this Walter Wallace shooting, mental health in our community, and whether or not it is something that we are willing to deal with, something that we are willing to admit is a problem, something that we are willing to treat. Is it something that we are willing to address? So that we're not in a situation where we're calling the police who are not qualified, not trained, don't want to deal with mental health issues. Is it something that we are willing to deal with in our families, in our communities, on our streets, on our blocks, in our culture? Is it something that we are willing to deal with? Are we willing to admit as a society that these things don't happen in this way to white people? Are we willing to admit that? Are we willing to deal with the fact that our police department is not equipped to deal with mental illness, social ills, any of that stuff, like they're equipped to deal with crime, and sometimes they're not even doing that right. Are we willing to deal with the realities that we are facing around this shooting? Are we willing to deal with the fact that poverty has created an atmosphere where when people get the chance, they're going to take what they can get? Are we willing to deal with the truth that sometimes poverty will trump morality, that sometimes hopelessness will trump morality, that sometimes the atmosphere that you live in where you don't know where you're going to get your next meal from, where you haven't had a job for months because of this virus, where the government has kind of failed us at all levels, and that has created this situation that we are in. And then they want to stand up and hold press conferences and say, don't loot. You know, these are the things that woke me up in the middle of the night last night. And as I think about these things, man, the angrier I get. Because we are in a situation where a quarter of the people in the city of Philadelphia live in poverty. You're living in a situation where people have lost their jobs by the thousands. We're living in a situation where people don't have hope. And you telling them don't loot. And they shouldn't. But what are we offering as an alternative? What are we offering so that people have the hope that if they do things right, that if they obey all the rules, that if they do what society tells them that they should do, that if they listen to the prayers of their grandmama and do what God would have them do, that if they do all of these things, they will be successful? What are we doing to give people that hope? I want to hear from you. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. Fran from West Philly is online too. Go ahead, Fran.
Good morning, Solomon. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm listening to you. It's always on my way into work, and my prayers definitely go out to the families who lost their loved one, and anyone ever lost a loved one through this kind of situation. The police have to be retrained. They have to know, first of all, they're trained to shoot center mass. They have to be retrained in regards to understanding situations of mental illness. It falls on the commissioner to get this done. I'm just so heartbroken about what's going on in our city. I'm praying for our city, and I'm praying for your continued strength to continue to send us the messages that we need to know. And whatever it is that we have to do, we have to get it done. We have to vote. We have to make sure that this does not continue to happen. Time and time again, we're constantly on the same thing. It has to change, Solomon. So keep doing what you're doing. My prayers is with you, and I love my city, and let's get this done with voting. Thank you.
Yeah. We're going to go to break, and on the other side, we're going to continue to take your calls at 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. I'm Solomon Jones. This is WURD Radio. We'll be right back.
Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
Good morning. This report sponsored by Staples Stores. Volume pretty heavy out there southbound 95. You're jammed up Cobbin down through Bridge through construction again from Betsy Ross through Girard heavy. Northbound 95. No major problems. Westbound Vine delays there from 95 to Brodigan Parkway through the Schuylkill Expressway. Schuylkill westbound, that jams from Bear Avenue through 30th through construction. Busy again around Gladwin to Conshohocken eastbound City through Spring Garden. A bit of a slow ride. Then you're jammed up between 30th Street and University Avenue. Disabled vehicle there off to the right. 55 northbound. You're jammed up there from Deptford to the 42. Staples helps businesses save on everything from office essentials to health essentials to packing and shipping. Right now, save 30% on select shipping supplies and 20% on UPS Expedited service. In-store only. Offer ends 10/31 while supplies last. See store for details. Staples. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
Hello, brothers and sisters. I'm Ryan M. Boyer, the business manager of Labor's District Council of Philadelphia and vicinity. This is the most important and crucial election of our lifetime. We need you to help us to win this election in Pennsylvania.
You can make change. Your change, your vote, it counts.
That's our power. Our power is in our voice. Our power is in our vote. The challenge has been issued. What are you going to do about it?
Paid for by the Labor's District Council PAC Fund.
There's a pressing need to strengthen pathways to better jobs in communities of color. That's why Bank of America is investing $1 billion to advance racial equality and economic opportunity.
I'm Jim Dever, Greater Philadelphia Market President for Bank of America. We've partnered with Coded by Kids to connect people to new skills and employment opportunities. It's just one way we're taking action in Greater Philadelphia right now.
Bank of America N.A., member FDIC, equal credit opportunity lender.
Do you have a Pennsylvania criminal record holding you back from jobs, housing, education, and more? Find out if you're eligible for criminal record clearing services with Philadelphia Lawyers for Social Equity. Apply online at plsephilly.org or join our virtual clinics and speak with a law student for free. Join us on Zoom Friday, October 30th and November 13th from 2 to 4, or Saturday, October 24th and November 14th from 11 to 1. Get the link on our website, plsephilly.org. Hope to see you there.
I'm Philadelphia City Councilwoman Sherelle Parker, and this message is for the sisters. We wear a lot of hats. We're mothers, aunties and daughters, teachers, community leaders, and CEOs. We rise to the occasion every day. We're good at it too. And now, more than ever, we need to do what we do. Show up and show out this election. To organize, to make those calls and get out the vote, to stand up for our families and our communities, just like you do every single day, every single time. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are counting on us, and we know that we can count on them.
I'm Joe Biden, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Biden for president.
Monday through Thursday, keep it locked to WURD Radio. At 6 a.m., start your day with the Power Hour, hosted by Bishop Dwayne Royster and Reverend Mark Kelly Tyler. At 7, it's Wake Up with WURD with Solomon Jones. At 10 a.m., it's Reality Check with Charles Ellison. Then at 1 p.m., it's The Source, hosted by Andrea Lawful Sanders on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, and the Black Women's Leadership Council on Wednesdays. At 4 p.m., it's Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro. Then at 7, it's Save Space with Sincerely Sarita. At 9 p.m., round up your day with Keeping It Real with the Reverend Al Sharpton.
Keep your dial locked
to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Or watch live on WURD TV via Facebook and YouTube. WURD Radio. Independent Black Media.
Remember when Trump defended neo-Nazis?
You also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
Or downplayed the coronavirus?
It's going to disappear one day. It's like a miracle.
It's time to fire politicians who failed us and elect leaders who will fight systemic racism, have a plan to beat the coronavirus, and will address bias in our healthcare system. This election, remember whose side Trump is on, not yours. Request a ballot now. Make a plan to vote. Our lives depend on it. Paid for by the NAACP.
You're waking up
with WURD,
hosted by Solomon Jones.
Good morning.
Right now on WURD Radio,
96.1 FM
and 900 AM WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM and 96.1 FM WURD. And I want to welcome you back to Wake Up with WURD. We are, of course, talking about the Walter Wallace shooting and the fallout from that, the protests that have sprung from that, and some of the outside forces that have kind of come in with their own agenda. And kicked off some of that looting. As I have talked to folks about this issue. Of course, we talked yesterday with Councilwoman Jamie Gaudier Also talked with Kazar Kabir. He is one of the community leaders in West Philadelphia. And the refrain that I keep hearing over and over again is that there are folks from outside that community coming in with bricks, with drills, with hammers, with tools, with incendiary devices, and really stoking some of the looting and some of the violence that is going on around that. I want to hear from you about that. What have you seen? Where have you been? Have you been in West Philadelphia and beyond and seen some of what is going on? Have you participated in it? We want to hear from you. Give us a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number that you can call to get in on the conversation. You can also hit us on Facebook at onWURD. That's FORWURD, FORWURD. We're getting some comments on Facebook, including this one from Kia Fisher Copeland, who says, again, some of these people are paid to start trouble and discredit those who are lifting their voices in unity and strength. This helps police and political leaders dilute the message to focus on punishment instead of actual solutions such as raising the minimum wage, giving community police boards power, overhauling and property funding schools, and address lending disparities. I could go on. I mean, it really does. It goes to deeper issues and deeper problems. And I don't want us to play ourselves. I don't want us to play right into that, especially with the election coming up in just a few days. I want to hear from you. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. Brother Joe from Germantown is on line one. Go ahead.
Good morning, Brother Solomon and Brother Jordan. How y'all doing this morning?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Our praises be to Allah. You know, Solomon, two things. When you was talking about the dependent scenario of a white family son, a mentally ill white man was being confronted by the police to say how that wouldn't happen. But imagine this, imagine some black cops shooting a white mother crying out for her son's welfare, and two black cops gun him down the same way. You know what the outrage would be in this town. You know what it would be. And secondly, Solomon, you know, white folks need to be honest. See, like you said, nobody condoning crime and looting and everything. But like you said, Solomon, you look at history in this country. When you look at President Roosevelt, it's not nothing that's synonymous with black people. Any people you keep in a box, you keep in abject poverty and degradation, you're going to have these kind of issues. Back in the day, why do you think President Roosevelt created the New Deal? Because that's why white folks like John Dillinger, Bonnie and Clyde, Pretty Boy Floyd, these was poor white people, Solomon, that were shut out of the white American mainstream by rich whites. So they resorted to crime, robbing banks, bootleg liquor, doing all killing, people doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So Franklin Roosevelt realized that if I don't do something, these poor white folks going to tear this country apart. Then you had the New Deal, the Marshall Plan, to rebuild American cities, because that was done for the benefit of poor white people. The GI Bill, all that came out because poor white people was tearing up this country with crime and everything, and that was their solution. Now, black people did benefit from it in some ways, but it wasn't done for black people. It was done for the benefit of white people, because white people, was, like I said, was tear up this country because they was left out of the mainstream. President Roosevelt, through his wisdom, you know, he saw he needed to do something, and he included Social Security in that same bag at that same time, Brother Solomon. So it's just a part of history that people need to know, okay?
Yeah, I hear you, brother, and I want to thank you for sharing that this morning on WURD. Let's go to Malik from Mount Airy on line 2. Good morning.
Good morning, Word family. Solomon, glad to see you you're back in good health and good spirits.
Thank you.
Here's the problem. The scariest part about this is they didn't see that brother as a person in need of mental help and a mental health crisis. They saw a threat to be killed, and that's the disconnect, because they already go out there knowing, like you said, the FOP and all these other unions are going to back what they do. So if I go out there guns blazing, nothing's going to happen. If it was a white, like you said, if it was a white mother screaming and hollering for her child's safety, amazingly, they grow moral compasses and say, hey, let's help. Mm-hmm. Yet, they jumped out, guns blazing, And it's crazy. I saw a picture of this incident, and one of those cops had a taser. Both of those cops had batons. There was other ways to defend themselves.
Let me just say this, because, and I need to make sure that we're fair about it, because the commissioner said neither one of them had a taser. She said that yesterday during a press conference with most of the media around the city of Philadelphia. She said neither of the police officers who shot him had a taser, and she said also that not every police officer in Philadelphia has a taser, and she blamed that on budgetary constraints. So that's what she said.
Okay. Here's what I'll say. I saw the video the picture that's circulating on the internet, and I'll send it to you on online because I see you online. That being said, even if that's the case, if it's a white person, I guarantee without a shadow of a doubt, they come up with other solutions. They call for backup. They call other police out there. They call other people to de-escalate the situation, because they never once tried to de-escalate. They just engaged and fired. And that's the problem. They're also trained, and I know for a fact that they're also trained to de-escalate a situation, try to bring it down before it escalates to a deadly situation. So that being said, if until you change the mentality of black people are threats, and that's a known fact, whether we're armed or unarmed, you have to change that mentality before you can change whether or not I'm going to jump out of a car and start firing 14 shots at a person that's going through a mental health crisis. So with that being said, I thank y'all. Y'all have a great day.
All right, thank you for your call this morning on WRD. Mike from North Philly is on line 3. Go ahead, Mike.
Good morning, Solomon. How you doing today, good brother?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. 3 quick things. There's no doubt that there are outside agitators coming into the city doing this stuff. I believe that. And I understand hopelessness and frustration with the looting and everything, but my concern is when the DA stood there and said, we're going to make this a felony burglary. I don't want any young black person catching a felony. Because it just makes it harder for them in life. You know what I mean?
That's right.
And anytime a white person commits an atrocity, they run to the mental health thing. You ever notice that too? They always crazy or something's wrong with them or whatever. Number 2, poverty in this city. I have always wondered why we have black leadership in this city for eons now, it seems like, and the conditions of black people haven't changed. They don't seem to help us out in any kind of way. They give tax abatements to rich people and all kinds of stuff like that, but nothing for the little man to bring these young people or even summer job programs like we had when we came up.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, that was my first job, a city summer job.
Me too. I worked for the graffiti network, and Wilson Good hired me to work for the graffiti network. That's how I got on. The third and last thing is, I'm a former police officer, okay? And when I was in the academy, you were taught that if a person, had a weapon or something, you could beat a tactical retreat, okay? That person then becomes a barricaded person on the highway. You call for backup or whatever you got to do, but the first thing you don't do, you don't just shoot people down. I'm having a hard time with that, and I talked to some of my former colleagues because I'm not with the city anymore, and they co-sign this stuff. And I always tell them, remember, you're black, you have a black uncle, a black niece, a black son, or whatever. Don't co-sign this stuff. Thanks for taking my call.
All right. I want to thank you so much for your call this morning on WURD Radio. Let's go back to the phone lines. Talk to B. Black from West Philly on line 4. Go ahead.
Good morning, Solomon.
Good morning.
I'm glad your health is better.
Thank you.
I got health issues too. A lot of people not believing that this thing is true, and so you're walking around getting disease, and plus it's wintertime. We're getting affected by the old things that haven't been cleaned up by the medical department. But fast forward, the election piece, and I looked at the mayor Kenny, on the statue down in City Hall, right? Octavius Cable. And he was saying that the Irish, he felt some kind of way because the Irish people had something to do. I said, not the Irish people. The Irish thugs make the distinction.
The Irish who?
Thugs. The mob. The Irish mob did that. The fire department was in you know what I mean? At that particular time, well, if you read the history on it, if you read the book, Octavius was a courageous man. He was an intelligent man. You know, blacks didn't hold office back in the day. So he campaigned on that. Got killed right there in South Philly, right?
Yeah.
Trying to get kids out of the street, his own kids that he was teaching, right? He tried to get everybody, and they knew it was a threat at that time. Voters' Day, that was Voters' Day in October the 10th back in the day. You didn't have to register. You had to come out and vote. You know what I'm saying? Then, as they covered it in history, now you have to register by October the 10th. You know,
so what? I'm sorry. What is your point?
I'm making the point. I'm telling the history of it.
Okay, of Octavius Catto.
Yeah, and so
okay.
And I'm just trying to streamline these things that pending that election, pending that we have an outgrowth of epidemics as far as the medical. Those things are happening throughout the time. So now, fast forward, the same thing is happening. You're
going to have to fast forward a little bit faster, bro. What's your point?
The point is, all that I'm making is the point in history. It's the same thing happened over and over and over again. This happened 100 years ago. It's nothing new.
All right. I want to thank you for your call this morning on WURD Radio. We appreciate that. And if you want to get in, it's 215-634-8065. You can, of course, also weigh in on Facebook at FORWURD. That's FORWURD, FORWURD. And let us know where you are in these various things we're talking about on this morning's show. Gail Robinson says this: preach and tell the truth, Solomon. All that is happening now is anger, frustration, pain, isolation, and rejection. And we are constantly told not to destroy, and things will get better. And how long will it take, and when will it get better? Raphael Suleiman says this: mental health is not addressed properly in the black community because of the stigma of someone calling you, quote, crazy if you seek treatment. Rich white folks have been in therapy forever, but they can afford the expensive therapy sessions. That is another barrier for us. The cost of therapy sessions, which can often run into thousands of dollars over a long period of time. Tracy Hambo Facalujo says this: good morning, Solomon and Word family. The state of the USA is disheartening, and I'm praying and using the gifts and strengths God has given me to make a difference. Reality is real, and we must do our part and stand up. So that's what she had to say. Nikki Carter says, it's just sad all the way around, then to find out they didn't have tasers because they couldn't afford them. Shake my head. So those are some of the comments that we've gotten. We've also gotten this one from Eric Deloach. This is God waking up America, believing in a man in the White House will change nothing. Well, I think that we have to believe in our people. We have to believe in ourselves. We have to believe in our strength, and we got to do what we got to do. It's not about electing a savior. It is about saving ourselves. We're going to go to break. On the other side, we're going to continue to take your calls. Jamil from Germantown is up next, and if you want to get in, it's 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. I'm Solomon Jones. We'll be right back.
Now, a traffic update
on WURD Radio.
Good morning. This report sponsored by Staples Stores. Busy ride still Schuylkill Expressway this morning, eastbound 76. That is heavy still from the Boulevard to Spring Garden. Again from 30th through University Avenue with a disabled vehicle. Westbound side, you're jammed up from Fair Avenue through 30th through ongoing construction. Westbound Vine Expressway, 8th out the Broadigan Parkway through the Schuylkill Expressway. Heavy southbound 95. Busy Cotman through Bridge. Again, Betsy Ross through Girard. Northbound 95 moving fine. Earlier accident has been cleared in New Jersey. It was on 676 right off of the Ben Franklin Bridge. The good news there, 55 north through jammed up Deptford into 42. Staples helps businesses save on everything from office essentials to health essentials to packing and shipping. Right now, save 30% on select shipping supplies and 20% on UPS expedited service. In-store only. Offer ends 10/31 while supplies last. See store for details. Staples. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
This year has been unprecedented. From the COVID pandemic to nationwide protests addressing systemic racism and calling for criminal justice reform. For weeks, we've been reminding you to make your voice heard in this election, and now is the time to act. Voting is how we empower our communities. And this election day, we can make things happen for us instead of letting things happen to us. So use your power and make your plan to vote today. If you signed up to vote by mail, don't wait. Complete your ballot, put it in the small envelope and seal it. Then put it in a larger envelope and seal that too. Sign and date it. Then drop off your ballot at your county election office today. If you have not signed up to vote by mail, go to the polls on Tuesday, November 3rd. Make sure to confirm your polling location. And don't forget to wear a mask. Polling places are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Election Day. To find your county election office or polling location, visit votespa.com. Take your power to the polls and vote. Paid for by Power Interfaith.
What's up, everyone? I know you know the word, no, not the station, but this word, J-O-B that is, and our friends at Amoroso's Baking Company are hiring right now. Amoroso's has been baking the delicious bread in our community for over 100 years, and they want you to join their team today. The old and the young love Amoroso's, and they are hiring right now. Check it out. They offer fair pay and provide health, dental, and prescription plans after 90 days employment. Call 856-754-0355 or visit amorososbaking.com for details.
Joe Biden insulted millions of black Americans.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
Worse, Biden wrote the mass incarceration laws that destroyed a generation of black families. Listen to Biden's racist rhetoric.
We have no choice but to take them out of society. Away from my mother, your husband, our families. Lock the SOBs up.
Biden's policies were so harmful that Senator Cory Booker called him an architect of mass incarceration. Millions of black lives devastated by Biden's policies.
Take a look at my record, man.
We did, and we've had enough. Joe Biden spent years hurting the black community. He insulted us, jailed us. We must not elect him president.
I'm Donald Trump, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Donald J. Trump for President, Inc.
At PICO, we know one thing is certain. Times have changed. From kitchen classrooms to couch conference calls, searching for a new job, or new ways to keep your family connected. These changes have become a part of our reality. That's why our teams are working 24/7 to meet the needs of our communities. So no matter how much things change, you can depend on PICO to be there with the energy and help you need to power through. Learn more at pico.com.
Want the latest in Word swag? Check out the shop tab on WURDradio.com. Hoodies, tees, and more in a variety of colors. The shop tab on WURDradio.com. Show the world that you're all about black. Talk Media.
Hi, I'm Tobias Harris. We've been hashtagging and protesting, but this November, we can show the system what time it is. We've been victims of police brutality, stop and frisk, and other forms of harassment. On November 3rd, we take our power back. This year, everything changes. We can vote to end stop and frisk and put police accountability in the hands of the people. It's on us. On November 3rd, vote to make our communities safer and our systems fairer.
Paid for by Black Vote PA, which is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. www.theelectionisnow.com.
It's Wake Up with Word, hosted by Solomon Jones. Right now on Word Radio.
96.1 FM.
And 900 AM WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD. I'm going to welcome you back to Wake Up with Word. And we got a lot to talk about. The shooting that took place in West Philadelphia of Walter Wallace Jr. Has sparked protests around the city of Philadelphia. And I woke up last night really thinking about that. And as I said earlier, I'm not one to wake up in the middle of the night. I sleep like a baby. I work real hard, you know, and so I sleep well, right? But I woke up, I guess maybe around 4. I don't generally get up that early, but I woke up around 4, and I started looking through my news feed and thinking about some of the things that have gone on, the protests, some of which have turned violent. the forces that have come in from outside of our community and kicked off the looting. And I'm thinking about what I'm hearing out of the White House, the president really chomping at the bit, talking about wanting to send federal forces into Philadelphia, and it plays right into his hand. We're just a few days away from an election in which many Philadelphians have already voted. But certainly people are going to be coming out in droves on election day to vote. Imagine federal troops being here along with the National Guard, along with the police, and people trying to vote in an election. That plays right into the president's hand. He has been trying to figure out how to suppress the vote in Pennsylvania, how to suppress the vote in Philadelphia, how to portray Philadelphia as corrupt, as if something is wrong with our election system, because he knows he's going to lose by huge numbers in Philadelphia. And if he does, that could impact what happens, you know, with this state. And as this state goes, I believe the presidency goes. And so to play right into his hand, right, by giving him by giving oxygen to this law and order message, right, I think is a bad move. And I think it's something we need to think about. Certainly, I'm not going to tell people how to be angry, right? I think that people have every right to be angry. But I also think that we have to be able to think critically about the consequences of how that anger is expressed and what that will mean going forward, not just for this city, but for our community. But I think the other thing we have to think critically about is this. Why do we have a 25% poverty rate in the city of Philadelphia? Why is that a thing, right? And why, even though we have this 25% poverty rate, even though we have this tremendous inequality in Philadelphia, where you can literally go 2 blocks over and there's $1 million homes, and you go 2 blocks the other way and there's abandonment and decay, right? And why, on top of that inequality that's already in place, would you then try to extend a tax abatement for people who can afford those $1 million properties while the other people languish in poverty? And then you wonder why people would loot when they have the chance to do it. We have to address the inequality that creates the abandonment of morality, because, again, morality don't mean a lot when you ain't got no food on the table, when you're hopeless, right? When you can't see your way out. And so we have to think about all of those things and how all of those things have placed us in the situation that we are in. I want to hear from you. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. Jamil from Germantown is on line 1. Go ahead, Jamil.
How you doing, Solomon?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good. I want to hit on 3 points real quick. I'll touch the actual shooting. So I just touch that last.
Sure.
As first thing, when you brought up the outside agitators, I know that to be 100% true, because when they had the protest with George Floyd, I was down there the first 2 days. And we're going to call names today. Those was white, masked, young kids spraying BLM on all those walls and all those buildings had hammers and drills and bow cutters and fireworks in their book bags, starting all that. I saw it with my own eyes. I have stuff on video that I saw. So that wasn't us. They fuel us up, and then we are the ones blamed for the violence a lot of times. I saw that with my own 2 eyes. But we have to think smarter than that sometimes. We can't fall into that trap. But I just want to confirm that is a known. I saw that the first protest we had when we had the riots in June. I saw it myself.
Okay.
Secondly, though, the issue of, you said poverty trumps morality. It does, but we haven't had morality in this community in a long time. And I'm just being upfront. I'm not originally from Philadelphia. I've been here 11 years. I've lived in Germantown the whole time I've been here. I'm 39. I'm not that old. I can't talk to these young men on the corners. I talk to them sometimes. I'll tell them about employment opportunities or you can do this and you can do that. And their whole thing, their mentality is, no, we want to do the streets regardless if we had the opportunity. And that's a dysfunction within our own society here. And we have to truly address that.
Not all of us. And not all of our young people either.
Not me. I'm still young. I'm still youthful, and not all of us. I'm one of those people that fall on that poverty line. I'm on disability. I haven't worked since 2016 because of my condition. I'm one of those who fall below the poverty line. But I'm not out here rioting. I'm out here looting my own community. I mean, I have to get medicine today. I have to worry about if my Rite Aid on Shelton Avenue is open, that I can get medicine that I need for life-sustaining medicine. So it angers me when we do this in our own community. It angers me a lot, you see. And I have to worry about, this is true, I tell people this all the time, I'm also a licensed gun carrier. I worry more about a black person coming up trying to rob me or catching a stray than the police officer. I don't even go out at night anymore that much. I mean, after 9 o'clock, if I don't have to go, I don't go. And when I do go,
why
my hand is on
why
my
are you
hip.
scared of black people?
I'm not scared of
That's
black
what you
people.
you said. You're more worried about
I said
a
worried,
black
not-
person.
I
Wait a
said-
minute. I'm
okay, go ahead.
just trying to. Can we have a conversation?
Sure.
Okay.
certainly. Go ahead.
So, I asked you why you're scared of black people, because you said you're more worried about a black person doing something to you than a police officer. And my question to you is, why are you scared of black people?
Okay, well, first off, let's frame my words and quote me correctly. I said worried, not scared. That's a difference.
Okay, why are you worried about black people?
Because I know my people and I know my environment. I'm
Have
around
any
other
black people ever shot you?
I've been shot at before, yes.
Have you been shot by black people?
I've been shot at by black
You've
people.
been shot
That's
at. So you never been shot by black people in 39 years, and yet you're worried about black people shooting you in the city of Philadelphia.
Yes, yes, because this is happening. Who are the majority of black people getting killed in the city? We're at 402 murders. The majority are black people. That's what I'm trying to say. What I'm telling you is statistically, I'm not saying I'm scared. I'm saying when I come outside, I'm cautious. I'm worried. I do not want to use my firearm on another black individual. I do not want another black individual to use that firearm on me. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
So let me ask you this. You talked about statistics. Do you know how many black people are in Philadelphia?
It's roughly, we have a city of, 1.2 million, I believe it's somewhere around 1.2.
Yeah, a little higher than that. But it's over 600. It's well over 600,000 black people in Philadelphia.
I know that.
And so, brother, you gotta let me respond. It's well over 600,000 black people in Philadelphia, and there are 400 murders. You say, right? I guess the point that I'm making is that there is a very small percentage of our folks who are involved in gun violence. Don't believe the hype. Don't fall into the hype, and believe that that all of our young people don't want to work and want to stand on the corner, and B, that the majority of us are involved in gun violence. The majority of us are not. The vast majority of us are not. And so I just want to make sure that when you start talking about statistics, that you recognize that that the vast majority of us, you know what we do, go to work every day, take care of our kids, take care of our families. We are not involved in gun violence, and we're not standing on the corner.
That's what I do. I'm not saying the majority. You're kind of spinning my words. I'm not saying the majority. But I live in Germantown. And again, if I'm going to be a victim of crime, statistically and this logic, it's going to be another black person doing that to me. If I get robbed in my neighborhood.
All right.
Okay.
I want to thank you for your call this morning on WURD Radio. I'm really here's where I am on our folks. I think that we cannot be the ones carrying the message that black people are bad. You know what I mean? I just think that is counterproductive for us. And I do believe that, and I know for a fact statistically, that the vast majority of black people are not involved in crime, are not involved in shooting each other, are not involved in killing each other. And so when you begin to conflate what's happening with crime with what's happening with policing, you really are talking about two different issues. Because if I pay you as a police officer through my taxes to protect and serve my community, that is what it is your job to do. Your job is not to come into my community and kill people. That's not your job, right? And I want to be real clear about that. that really those really are two different issues. And when you begin to conflate those issues, you really are carrying a message for folk that don't really mean us any good. That's where I'm at. Derek from North Philly is online too. Go ahead, Derek.
Good morning, Brother Solomon. Love, peace, blessing, and prosperity.
Same to you.
Thank you, Solomon. Solomon, that last caller said that he's worried, he's not fearful, but it sounds like, just hearing the conversation over the phone, sounds like he's fearful because he doesn't go outside because he's fearful after a certain time. If he was to think about, if he was a white person that lived in a white neighborhood, he would have some of the same concerns, worried about what's going on in the neighborhood. So that's just what happens in the city of Philadelphia due to a lack of policing, that citizens are worried or fearful to go outside. The other thing, Solomon, I think Donald Trump set Philadelphia up for devastation due to the fact that the election is near, and he want to disrupt everything here because this is a battle state. And so it just seems diabolical to me that the so-called Proud Boys would ease on into town and have their meetings, and then the outcome, Donald Trump later says bad things happen, and then bad things happen. I have no other choice but to think, to connect the dots, is that we are really in the fight for our lives, and we are in the fight for the Constitution to uphold for all its citizens. That's what it's about to me.
All right, man, I want to thank you for your call this morning on WRD. Let's go to Roger from Southwest on line 3. Go ahead, Roger.
Okay. First of all, I would like to comment on the shooting. And excuse me. Peace and blessings be with you, my brother.
Same to you.
Okay. When you review the footage, you see the police in retreat, and they were standing at least 12 to 15 feet away from him before they shot him. In order for a person to stab you, they have to be right on top of you. That's the first thing. Then in reference to the caller who called right to the second caller before me and not wanting to go outdoors. Well, I'm 59 years old. I lived in Mount Airy, and I also lived in North Philadelphia, and I lived in South Philly, and I'm living out here in Southwest, all on the west side of Broad Street. Now, throughout my whole entire life, I've never feared to walk the streets at night in my community. And as you stated, there's a lot of propaganda that goes on through the media with the shootings that take place in the city of Philadelphia. And what it does is desensitize us and we show a lack of compassion and empathy towards other human beings and the sanctity of a human life. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to get that out there. And also, as the brother stated, I saw on cable news what Donald Trump said while he was giving a speech of one of his rallies here in Pennsylvania. Bad things happen. It was on the same day of the shooting. Bad things happen in Philadelphia. And I don't understand. I'm connecting the dots too. It's a coincidence, but it happened.
All right, I want to thank you for your call this morning on WURD. We got to go to break. On the other side, it's Lynn Washington. I'm Solomon Jones. We'll be right back.
Voting is power. The power to elect candidates who won't treat coronavirus like a joke. The power to invest in black communities. The power to create an economy that works for everyone. The power to invest in education and job training. And the power to replace Trump. Make a plan to vote today. Our lives depend on it.
Paid for by AFSCME People, which is responsible for the content of this ad. AFSCMEPeople.org. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Got a criminal record in Philly that you want erased? You have options. Apply online for free record clearing services with Philadelphia Lawyers for Social Equity at www.plsephilly.org/intake.
Need a new mattress? Stop by to see Julian, the mattress man, located at 7421 Stenton Avenue. You deal directly with the owner, Julian, to ensure the best prices on name brand mattresses like Sealy, Posturepedic. Call 215-424-5550. That's 215-424-5550.
New Voices for Reproductive Justice is mobilizing Black women in Philly and our families to vote on Tuesday, November 3rd. You can mail or drop off your ballot or vote early in person at 20 locations in Philadelphia and Delaware County right now. For more information, visit newvoicesrj.org/2020elections. That's newvoicesrj.org/2020elections.
Word Radio presents the following information to help you navigate the upcoming election.
This is Charles Ellison, host of Reality Check on WURD. So with all this talk about vote by mail, you're probably wondering, will my ballot be counted? No worries. 40 states, including Pennsylvania, are tracking mail-in ballots. Simply go to votespa.com and click on Mail-in and Absentee Ballot to find out if your ballot was received. Or go more directly to pavoterservices.pa.gov and click on Election Ballot Status to enter your name, birth date, and county. Keep following us at onWURD on Twitter, Facebook.com/4word, and #WordOnPolitics for constant updates on election 2020. And remember, vote early.
Stay informed and vote. For more from Charles Ellison, tune in Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. or visit wordradio.com.
I'm Philadelphia City Councilwoman Sherelle Parker, and this message is for the sisters. We wear a lot of hats. We're mothers, aunties and daughters, teachers, community leaders, and CEOs. We rise to the occasion every day. We're good at it too. And now, more than ever, we need to do what we do. Show up and show out this election. To organize, to make those calls and get out the vote. To stand up for our families and our communities, just like you do every single day, every single time. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are counting on us, and we know that we can count on them.
I'm Joe Biden, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Biden for president.
This is Word Radio.
96.1 FM.
And 900 AM WURD Philadelphia.
Black Talk Media.
It's Wake Up with Word. Hosted by Solomon Jones. Right now on Word Radio.
96.1 FM.
And 900 AM WURD.
What we saw was misconduct by police. As Malcolm X said, American democracy is nothing but disguised hypocrisy. If you did see the video and you did nothing, you need to go.
And now, Lynn Washington, only on Wake Up with Word.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD. I want to welcome you back to Wake Up with Word. Joining us now, Lynn Washington Jr. He's a professor of journalism at Temple University, where he's a co-founder of the award-winning Multimedia Urban Reporting Lab. In addition to his Temple degrees, Washington holds a law degree from Yale University. Lynn, good morning.
Good morning, Solomon. I'm not going to even ask how you're doing. I know how you're doing.
This is crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is crazy. And, you know, when we deal with these kinds of tragedies, like the police shooting of Walter Wallace Jr., unfortunately, it's familiar to us because we've seen it time and time again in the city of Philadelphia. So I want to talk about the history of police shootings in Philly and how that history impacts what we are seeing now with Walter Wallace.
Ugly history of abusive policing in Philadelphia, including fatal shootings. And we're talking about going back over 100 years. The problem, or one of the many problems, is that the system provides protection for the police. Judges find fault in allegations, the arbitration system. The city would rather just pay the money in terms of settlements for these lawsuits that are filed in the thick of it. And things don't change. And that's been the problem. Or let me put it this way, they don't change fast enough and incrementally, not incrementally, but on a wider range as possible. Because we're talking with this situation with Mr. Wallace, we're talking about a mental health issue. When we look at the city's budget, the budget that was passed this year, they allocate about $730 million to the police department. That's almost $1 billion. How much money goes into behavioral health, which is also listed with public health, so public health and behavioral health? $183 million. Quite a disparity. And if mental health issues are causing 20-25% of police response time, then some money should be allocated to take care of that problem versus putting the money in police, and we have these kind of incidents again and again and again.
You know, it's interesting because one of the things that we've learned is that the police have a behavioral health specialist, but they only have one. And the person is in the radio room and was not there at the time that this occurred because, of course, they can't work around the clock. I would think that if we are going to invest in behavioral health specialists, they would be people who would actually, A, go out on the street, and B, that you would hire enough of them so that they could at least work a couple of the shifts, you know, within the districts. Even if you do it on a trial basis in one district and put one on each of the 3 shifts that you have, you know, I would think you would be able to see the efficacy of doing that. But to have one that don't even go on the street, like, it doesn't make sense to me.
No, it doesn't. And there's so many common sense solutions. This issue of persons in the community who are having mental health crises is not new. As when I first started out being a reporter in the 1970s, there were these incidents of beatings and fatal shootings, and it comes out that the person has some kind of a mental illness. So it's an issue, well, we need to be better training on the police, better training on the police. Well, from the 70s onward, you don't see that this is a problem, and you don't take corrective action for it. And again, $730 million, and you can't have a specialist assigned per district all the time. It doesn't make any sense. There are mental health agencies in the city. Those agencies could be not privatized, but, you know, you get a contract with them so that they have somebody available that could be helpful to police, since governments at all levels like to privatize stuff, bring the private sector involved in it. But a lot of this just gets back to economics and the exclusion of blacks systemically from the economics that the city generates. You know, when you have poverty, when you have inequitable education, you're going to have issues related to mental health. And our country, not only our city, but country is failing to see this. Look, we've talked about mental health as it relates to issues that bring police in contact with people in a big way for over 2 years now. And nothing has changed at the national level. That's why it's important to vote. You hear all this stuff about, well, voting doesn't work and I'm tired of politicians. Yeah, and all of that's true. But if we continue on where we are, it's just going to go from, you know, insane to just something that none of us really want to see. Yeah.
When have we seen this type of thing happen before, where you have, a brother who is in crisis or who is mentally ill or who is just different, subjected to this kind of treatment by police?
Well, let's be clear. Every incident is different, and this one was particularly ugly. So many people saw the videos. There were two officers on the scene initially. Both of them had their guns out facing the police. Facing the gentleman.
Yep.
So could not one have distracted him and used a baton or whatever? We now hear that the police don't have tasers. We just got on body cams, but we don't have tasers. We don't have batons, mace. There were many mechanisms that could have been used to de-escalate that situation, other than just trying to just ease up for a minute. This guy had a small knife.
Yeah.
And he was 12 feet away from him, so they didn't have to shoot him at the time. But you're saying these type of incidents, in the, probably in the 90s, there was this incident involving this guy named Wendell Washington Charlie, basically in the same area where police, I think, fired 90 shots at this guy. He was drunk. And, police are going to just go in and not even try to de-escalate the situation. They were trying to strong-arm it. I think back in the 70s, where there were a lot of incidents a number of incidents involving people in the Puerto Rican community who had some incidents of mental health crises, and they end up dead. So we see these things happening time and time again. So it raises the question, why hasn't more adequate methods been put in place? But it also brings up some issues. We're now, 2 days out from this, and the police and everybody are investigating. We saw what happened. The officers were wrong. Was it first-degree murder? No. But it definitely was criminally negligent homicide, or I'm sure, like Mr. Michael Kors could tell you exactly what the category is. But those officers need to be arrested for what they did. That was wrong. It was a wrong situation. Now, did they mean to, go out that day to shoot somebody? I don't think so. But when you commit an act, you have to be held accountable for it. And that's been the problem with the police officers. There's always some reason why they're not held accountable on the same level as citizens. Yes, they get certain considerations because they are police officers, but ultimately you don't go somewhere and engage in fatal behavior as these officers did. At the very least, they should be discharged from the police force and never hold a job as a police officer again. Because if you see that as a life-threatening situation, this may not be the occupation that you should pursue.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was interesting that in yesterday's press conference that the police commissioner and also the chief inspector, Frank Vanor, who was also speaking for the police department, they talked about the fact that they had not interviewed the officers yet. Now, yesterday was Tuesday. This thing happened on Monday. So why would you give them a whole day, right, to get their story straight? If you caught me on video shooting somebody, right, I would be interviewed that same day. As soon as you get me,
that's right.
I'm in a room.
That's right.
And they talked about it being a function of state law, that they had to handle it a certain way, and they hadn't talked to the officers yet. To me, that makes no sense whatsoever.
It doesn't make any sense. It goes against every kind of investigative procedure that's out there. But these are the kind of protections that have been layered in. The FOP types go to their conservative Republican legislatures that they're friendly with, and these laws get passed. The law about the arbitration with the police department that gives the police officers and the police union outside authority in choosing arbitrators. This is how certain groups in our society work the system to set it up that it ends up working against us, the system that we're paying for with our tax dollars. So, that stuff was put in place. That stuff was put in law. But, gosh, these are the things that we have to stand up against. When I say we, I mean some of our elected officials. Yes, they're overwhelmed with a lot of stuff, the sheer volume of stuff that comes out. But we have to speak up, even if we can't stop it, to just let the public know what's going on. A couple of years ago, there was this bill before Congress to make police a protected category, like people who've been historically discriminated against, like blacks. Well, they passed a law out of Congress that gave police that similar kind of status, and I remember many members of the Black Caucus voted for it, including a member of the Black Caucus from Philadelphia. So,
yeah, it's crazy. So we got about a minute left because we got to end a little bit early. But what do you think we need to be doing going forward?
I think the efforts that are now being made, I think they need to be sustained. The efforts of the coalition that you were involved with were, trying to deal with contracting. I saw where the Kenney administration has laid out a bunch of promises and pledges in terms of what they want to do, how they want to change policing. Efforts need to be made to ensure that they continue on with that fight. And there has to be some liability on the police. And I think at the very least, there needs to be a serious examination of this organization called the FOP, because it is proven over time, documented, that it works against the interests of the people of Philadelphia to the exclusive benefit of police officers, including police officers who do wrong.
Yeah, I hear you. That is Len Washington. He is a professor of journalism at Temple University, where he's a co-founder of the award-winning Multimedia Urban Reporting Lab. In addition to his Temple degrees, Washington holds a law degree from Yale University. Len, thanks so much.
Okay, thanks, Solomon. Take care, man. Bye-bye.
All right, you too. We're going to go to break. On the other side, we're going to talk with Ambassador Carol Mosley Braun about what's happening with the election. I'm Solomon Jones. We'll be right back.
Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
Good morning. This report sponsored by Staples Stores. Looking at the Schuylkill Expressway, pretty busy there both ways this morning. Eastbound Gladwin to Belmont, again the Boulevard into Spring Garden, again between Penrose Avenue and Front Street. You're going to find that heavy through a construction area down to 2 lanes. Westbound Schuylkill, that's a jam right there. Avenue through 30th through work, again from Belmont through Conshohocken. Westbound fine. Jams 95 to Brodigan Parkway through the Schuylkill Expressway. Southbound 95, you're jammed up there this morning. From Cotman down through Bridge, again Betsy Ross through Girard. Northbound looks good. 55 north, you're jammed up still. Deptford into 42. Staples helps businesses save on everything from office essentials to health essentials to packing and shipping. Right now, save 30% on select shipping supplies and 20% on UPS Expedited services. In-store only, offer ends 10/31 while supplies last. See store for details. Staples. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
We've all heard people say this election is the most important of our lifetime. Let's remember why that's true. Under the Trump presidency, racism has found a tragic new normal, emboldened by a president who has demonstrated disrespect and disregard for our communities while embracing and protecting white supremacists. While the coronavirus was taking our family members from us, Donald Trump deceived the nation by withholding information that could have saved lives. He protected himself instead of protecting us. Our economy is in shambles, our children's education jeopardized, and the Trump administration is in court right now trying to take away our health care. This has to end. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are the leaders we need to chart a path toward opportunity, justice, and healing. From affordable health care to quality education and jobs, there's only one choice to move us forward. Vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Paid for by BlackPack and Priorities USA Action. BlackPack.com and PrioritiesUSAAction.org, which are responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
COVID-19 impacted a lot of things this year, including regular vaccination appointments. Vaccines help protect you and everyone around you, especially during flu season. Schedule an appointment with your healthcare provider today to make sure you and your children are vaccinated. Vaccines keep us safe, and they work. Skip the flu this year. Get your vaccination today. Let's stay protected together. For more information, visit health.pa.gov. Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
I'm Philadelphia City Councilwoman Sherelle Parker, and this message is for the sisters. We wear a lot of hats. We're mothers, aunties and daughters, teachers, community leaders, and CEOs. We rise to the occasion every day. We're good at it too. And now, more than ever, we need to do what we do. Show up and show out this election. To organize, to make those calls and get out the vote. To stand up for our families and our communities, just like you do every single day, every single time. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are counting on us, and we know that we can count on them.
I'm Joe Biden, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Biden for president.
Dietz & Watson has been making premium meats and artisan cheeses for over 80 years. And when it comes to stacking sandwiches and party platters, they've got something for everyone in the family, like maple honey turkey breast, American cheese, buffalo chicken, and more. So get to your local deli and taste 4 generations of family recipes. With Dietz & Watson on the table, you'll have everyone coming back for seconds and thirds. Dietz & Watson, it's a family thing since 1939.
Hi, I'm Keira Bradford Gray, the Chief Defender of the Defender Association of Philadelphia. I've spent my career helping to reform our criminal justice system by advancing client-centered representation that empowers our communities to be stronger and safer. Our communities are still over-policed and under-resourced. This year, accountability is on the ballot, and we can finally have the community police oversight that we desperately need.
Paid for by Black Vote PA, which is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. www.theelectionisnow.com.
It's Wake Up with Word, hosted by Solomon Jones.
Good morning.
Right now on Word Radio.
96.1 FM.
And 900 AM WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM and 96.1 FM WURD. We want to welcome our next guest, Ambassador Carol Mosley Braun. Served in the U.S. Senate from 1993 to 1999 as a Democrat from Illinois. She was the first Black woman ever elected to the U.S. Senate, and she was succeeded by Barack Obama. Ambassador Braun, welcome to the show.
Good morning. I'm so happy to be with you.
Yep, happy to have you. So we've got a lot going on with this election, and we've got a lot going on in the city of Philadelphia. Of course, it's national news that Walter Wallace Jr. was shot dead by police. He was going through a mental health episode and had a knife, and they shot him. And that is one of the big issues that is going on with this election. It's criminal justice. And so for those who might have doubts, how does voting impact this kind of thing that keeps happening to our people over and over again?
Well, voting impacts elections, and elections impact policy. And who's in office matters because it determines whether or not they just provide money for more guns or money for help for treatment and for helping people and communities who are right now under-resourced. When you consider the racism, what racism does in terms of mental health, it just makes it worse. It's hard enough for any ordinary people to exist and get through their day. And now when you add racism to that, what you have is it's no wonder you got people walking down the street talking themselves. And they do so, and frankly, until we can destigmatize mental health, we can have it have a discussion about it in the same way we talk about physical health. That's step A, and we've got to have alternatives to police because they're just trained to shoot people. We got the same people who go out and deal with people robbing stores and sticking up and to go and deal with somebody having a mental health, having a crisis, having a breakdown. That just doesn't make sense. So until we can begin to address the whole issue of mental health, particularly mental health in the Black community, and begin to deploy our resources so that police are not just We just don't have people whose instinct and whose training is to shoot somebody. Rather have somebody out there at the time who can do something about the person who's having a meltdown. We will continue to have this problem, which is a national problem. Right now, once a week, somebody black gets shot in a police-involved shooting, and you know, it's a tragedy all over the country, but particularly in Philadelphia. You just had it this week, and so it's right in your face. So it's really tragic and sad, and I hope that they will investigate, and that the investigation will turn out that the police just overreacted, and you know, we lost life as a result of it.
Yeah. We're talking with Ambassador Carol Moseley Braun. She served in the U.S. Senate from 1993 to 1999 and joins us to talk about this election that is coming up. It's less than a week away now. Ambassador Braun, what does our community need to know about voting in this election, specifically in Philadelphia, as Pennsylvania is one of the key states in this race?
Well, it's very important that the Philadelphia community turn out in big numbers, because your state is one of those swing states, and one of those tipping point states. And Joe Biden needs the support. I worked with him for 6 years, and so I know this man's head, and I know his heart. He knows how to make government work for people. He is very much interested in using government as a tool to help people, not the other way around. It's not all about him. It's not all personal. It's not an ego trip. And frankly, because of he brings those skills, that's why I volunteered to help out with his campaign from the very beginning, as I would add. I've been there because I know who he is. I know he would be a good president and somebody who understands our issues and cares about our issues and will do the right thing by the black community throughout this country.
What in your view is the main issue that that black people in particular should be voting on?
Well, Joe describes it as the soul of America. I would be more specific. It's what kind of country you're going to have. Are we going to go back to the days when of segregation? Are we going to go back to the days when we were second-class citizens? Are we going to move forward so that the next generation of black people will have an opportunity, a shot at being full citizens in this country? I mean, the last generation succeeded with getting social integration, but they failed when it came to economic integration. And we have to do both. We have to, until we begin to address and deal with and resolve the economic shortfalls in our community, we're going to continue to have a lot of the problems that we have. A lot of it is economic. Somebody loses their job, but they're likely to have a mental health breakdown, and that is half of the problem. We don't have the jobs. We don't have the capital in our community to help build the strong communities that we need in order to provide for our families and for our future. And so I think that who we choose as who comes president is going to matter greatly in whether or not we move toward the future or move to the past.
All right. That is Ambassador Carol Moseley Braun. She served in the U.S. Senate with Joe Biden from 1993 to 1999 as a Democrat from Illinois. She was the first black woman ever elected to the U.S. Senate. Ambassador Carol Moseley Braun, I want to thank you for joining us this morning on WURD.
I want to thank you for this opportunity.
All right. All right. So we got a few minutes, so we're going to talk to you. Give us a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number that you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. Let us know where you are on any of these things we're talking about on this morning's show, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in. You can also weigh in on Facebook at ForWord, at FORWURD. That's FORWURD, and let us know where you are in these various things we're talking about, including our top 3 stories, which are story number 1. the coronavirus is spreading so quickly in Philadelphia that the city's contact tracing program no longer has the ability to track every case, city officials said Tuesday, while they urge residents to cancel all holiday gatherings. And Pennsylvania reported a record number of new cases. So that means wear your mask. It means wash your hands. It means keep your distance. It means do all of the things that you've been doing to avoid this virus. Story number 2, the Pennsylvania National Guard has been deployed to Philadelphia after another night of civil unrest and some looting following the fatal police shooting of Walter Wallace Jr. in West Philadelphia on Monday. The deployment comes as the city braces for potentially more violence, and Wallace's family calls for peace. Which brings me to story number 3, my commentary from today. When I watched the video of Walter Wallace Jr. being gunned down by 2 Philadelphia police officers on Monday, I was sure of one thing: this would not have happened if Wallace were white. In America, police give white men the benefit of the doubt. That's true when white men are armed, like the bat-wielding white vigilantes in Fishtown who assaulted people after the George Floyd protests. And it's true when they're white supremacists, like Dylan Roof, who was taken to Burger King by police after killing 9 African Americans. Black men like Wallace don't get those kind of breaks. He was having a mental health crisis when police were called to his family residence for the 3rd time that day. And when he left the porch and walked to the street with his mother trying to calm him down, the officers pulled guns. Then as Wallace walked toward them with the knife, the 2 officers, who were not equipped with tasers, by the way, fired at least 7 bullets apiece. This has to stop. I want to hear from you. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. Let's go to Jerry from West Philly on line 1. Go ahead, Jerry.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
You're sounding better. But
Thank you.
One thing I want to say is that we are on like a reset button, and we're seeing everything, and it's almost like for the first time because we're dealing with the coronavirus. And no, we do not deal with the coronavirus well at all. We're in house, we're seeing TV, we're doing this and that, and it's bringing anxiety, doubt, and fear. And one thing that I want to say to you, Solomon Jones, because I'm going through the same thing. I see this on TV, and I'm like asking, I'm even going as far as asking God why. But, you know, all I know is that all I can say is to pray. That's all I can do, and trust God. Another thing, too, so far as mental illness, well, let me back up. Mental illness and a lot of things that's going on has been going on for years. First of all, I want to that young lady that called first thing in the morning, queens don't tear other queens down, and we got to stop doing that. Yeah, she might not be doing it the way you think she should be doing it, but this has been going on long before she got here. So let's be straight up and give her a break. So far as, and I know she got to do her job, and I know that, you know, it's something that she needs to do and all, but she came at a bad time. This has been going on for years. The coronavirus is here, and a lot of other things is going on. But we got to be honest as a race of people. We've been we should have been dealing with this a long time ago. And like I said, now that we're on pause, we're seeing everything straight up. So now what are we going to do? We shouldn't be saying after the coronavirus and everything is done, okay, we're going to go back as business as usual. Because you know as well as I know that if we hadn't been put on pause, this stuff would have went past our head. We would have said, oh, that's a shame, another brother got killed, and kept going on business as usual. But now it has to be addressed.
All right, I want to thank you so much for your call this morning on WURD. We certainly appreciate it. Let's go to Donald from Francisville on line 2. Go ahead, Donald.
Hey, Jumbo there, my brother.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. And good morning to your wonderful producer. Good morning to the Word family.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my thing is this. It's called PTSD, and I was imagining all of those children and all those families watching that man, Mr. Wallace, get shot down, as well as his family.
Yes.
Now, those police officers are going to get some type of mental counseling. But what about those people on that block. You know, we're surrounded by universities that have psychiatry, psychology departments.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
And none of them rushed in to help any of those people out, especially those babies. You know, if you know, we were talking about, okay, well, instead of armed police going to a situation like that, well, where is the University of Penn? Where's Temple University at? Where's community college at? You know,
that's a good point. I mean, you've got entire departments teaching psychiatry and psychology and counseling, and perhaps you know, doing that work could be part of their master's thesis or their doctoral dissertation, or you know, it could be incorporated into their curriculum as experiential learning. I think that's a good idea. Quite frankly, I love it, and I think it's something that should be explored.
I hope it is, because you know, it's not like we don't have the tools to do it, but it's more or less about who wants to jump in first. You know, because you know, now you know, you put this precedent upon yourself. Okay, well, you know, you got to bake a few cookies before you get it right. You got to bake a couple cakes before you get it right. You got to learn how to boil that rice right, you know, before you get it right. So it's going to take that, you know, to do that. And again, they shut down Byberry for a reason.
Donald, I want to thank you so much for your call this morning on WURD, and all that happened under the Reagan administration. They shut down the mental institutions that we had, and then, you know, left the people basically to their own devices, to outpatient treatment, that kind of thing. And that's when you saw a real increase in public, you know, mental illness, where you saw people on the street who were dealing with mental illness. So that's a good point as well. Let's go to James from the Northeast on line 3. Go ahead, James.
Hey, good morning, Solomon. Sad day in Philly, man. Sad day in Philly. First, I'd like to say, if you don't think this FOP has members that wouldn't, I believe this excessiveness was done on purpose. They know they didn't have to shoot him 14 times, but they know it's an election, it's Philadelphia, and they support Donald Trump. And if you think they don't have members that will put out that agenda and do something like this to spark a flame in Philadelphia, open our youth that don't understand what this election means to everybody, would go out and loot, I believe that 100% they have members that would go out and do this. And I think this was part of a plan where they had the opportunity, and these young men on the force took it. No doubt. No doubt.
All right, James, I want to thank you for sharing your opinion this morning on WURD Radio. We certainly appreciate it. And there are a number of people, of course, also weighing in on Facebook, and you can do that at 4WURD. That's FORWURD, FORWURD. Deborah Dorn Carter says this: if you're going to protest, then protest. United we stand, divided we all fall. Don't trash and do looting in your neighborhood. It doesn't fix the problems. It creates more problems. Go vote like your life is in danger, because it is. And so you have a couple of more comments on Facebook as well. Camille Summers-Taylor says this is tight but is right. He blow the dog whistle when he was here. So that's what she had to say. Mike Jackson says on Facebook, how did this country get to a point where everyone in so-called power is afraid of a game show host? Hashtag we are doomed. So we're going to go to break. On the other side, we are going to do what's trending right here on WURD.
Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
Good morning. It's a little bit busy. 95 southbound, Cotman down through Bridge, jammed through construction, jammed again Betsy Ross through Girard, northbound side not bad. Westbound Vine Expressway, that jams 95 to Broadigan Parkway through the Schuylkill Expressway. Schuylkill westbound, Vare through 30 if you're jammed there with construction. Eastbound side, Heavy Boulevard through the Vine Expressway again. You're heavy from Broad Street to Front Street. That is because of ongoing construction. Pennsylvania Turnpike, Blue Route 476 in pretty good shape. 55 north jamming. Deptford in the 42 still this morning. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
The pandemic is not only putting everyone's health at risk, it's also impacted our jobs and retirement security. And it's disproportionately affecting African Americans, especially those 50 plus. That's why AARP Pennsylvania is fighting for your voice to be heard. If you haven't voted yet, now is the time to learn about your voting options and cast your ballot. We're working to make sure you can vote safely, whether you choose to vote from home or in person. And if you choose to vote by mail, make sure you return your ballot using both envelopes. Your ballot goes in the smaller envelope for secrecy, and that goes into the larger envelope for mailing. Also, don't forget to sign the voter declaration on the back. Your voice matters. Make sure it's heard. Go to aarp.org/PA-votes to learn about your voting options and how to vote safely this election. Visit aarp.org/PA-votes today. Paid for by AARP.
This year's been tough, but it's given me a lot of time to learn new skills through the internet.
I've been joining more classes during lockdown.
I'm doing an internship.
I taught myself how to play guitar.
So when people ask,
will I be able to learn online?
I feel like I'm ready.
Internet Essentials from Comcast has connected millions of families from low-income homes to the internet. So no matter what back to school looks like, students can be ready for anything. Learn more at comcast.com/Internet Essentials.
I'm Philadelphia City Councilwoman Sherelle Parker, and this message is for the sisters. We wear a lot of hats. We're mothers, aunties and daughters, teachers, community leaders, and CEOs. We rise to the occasion every day. We're good at it too. And now, more than ever, we need to do what we do. Show up and show out this election. To organize, to make those calls and get out the vote, to stand up for our families and our communities, just like you do every single day, every single time. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are counting on us, and we know that we can count on them.
I'm Joe Biden, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Biden for president.
Livelihood. The new initiative from WURD Radio, connecting Philadelphians to jobs, entrepreneurship opportunities, small business resources, and financial literacy. Visit WURDworks.com right now and take the next step in your professional journey.
Work, 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 work. You see me heavy work.
Livelihood is supported by the Nightland Fest's Local News Transformation Fund, Borealis Philanthropies Racial Equity and Journalism Fund, and the Solutions Journalism Network.
Remember when Trump defended neo-Nazis?
You also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
Or downplayed the coronavirus?
It's going to disappear one day. It's like a miracle.
It's time to fire politicians who failed us and elect leaders who will fight systemic racism, have a plan to beat the coronavirus, and will address bias in our healthcare system. This election, remember whose side Trump is on, not yours. Request a ballot now. Make a plan to vote. Our lives depend on it. Paid for by the NAACP.
Did you know you can catch the flu and COVID-19 at the same time or even back-to-back? Don't risk catching the flu during the COVID-19 pandemic. The flu shot is a safe and effective way of reducing your chances of catching the flu or spreading it to others. And the flu shot helps protect you and your community from the worst effects of the flu. Don't say, I should have got my flu shot. Call your doctor or visit your pharmacist and get your flu shot today.
You're waking up with WURD, hosted by Solomon Jones.
Good morning.
Right now on WURD Radio,
96.1 FM
and 900 AM WURD. All circuits are busy. Here's what's trending.
Yo, that's crazy.
On Wake Up with WURD.
Darnella Frazier, the teen who recorded the footage of George Floyd's death, will be presented with the Penn Benson Courage Award in December for capturing the video that acted as a catalyst with what has arguably been the largest and most continuous Black Lives Matter movement push that the nation and the world have ever seen. Story number 2, Netflix has acquired the rights to Concrete Cowboy, a movie about Philadelphia's black cowboy subculture, starring Idris Elba and Stranger Things star Caleb McLaughlin, who played father and son. The movie is inspired by the black horseback riding community at the city's famed Fletcher Street stables and by Greg Neary's novel, Ghetto Cowboy. Story number 3, there's a brand new Batwoman coming to CW series, and she's black and beautiful. Japhia Leslie will take over the lead role in the show's second season, and the network just unveiled the first glimpses of her in a brand new superhero suit. Leslie is making history as the first black actress to portray Batwoman in a live-action television or film production. She's also an alumna of Hampton University, and that is what's trending right here on WURD Radio. I'm laughing because I know Kawesa put that in there because she went to Hampton, and so she's giving a shout-out to her school. We appreciate that, and we appreciate each and every one of you. Give us a call at 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number that you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. Patrick from New Jersey is on line 1. Good morning.
Good morning, Salman. How you doing?
Good, and you?
Mac? Yeah, I'm okay. I'm actually in Kensington boarding up my store right now. So,
okay.
But man, what the way I'm seeing this is in England they have no police with guns, and they have
some police have guns, but not the regular bobbies that walk around. You're right; they don't have guns.
And that's what we need. We need here. We need non-lethal officers, which are going to be officers that were generally newer to the force. A lot of these shootings are done by new police officers. A lot of the shootings are done by police officers who don't have any military training, and they don't understand the repercussions of shooting somebody for themselves and for the people around them, whereas people who go through the military and served have a little bit more sense. And I think there needs to be 3 levels of officers. People that are non-lethal, and they're the majority of the officers. They carry a taser and mace, billy club, and then you have officers that carry guns, and you have your third tier of officer, which is like your SWAT, which should only be people that were trained in the military too. And I think that we're at a point where when people show up to a scene such as that, that they also should be the non-lethal officers should have the ability to inquire with the people that are around the person and ask them for help, because you see people trying to block the man. So they didn't feel threatened by him, by his knife, right? They're next to his mother, the other person that was trying to do that. They didn't try to engage. They told them to move out of the way when they were trying to stop him from hurting anybody. Why do you tell somebody's mother to move out of the way and the other person that's trying to help when they don't feel threatened by that knife? Well, maybe they should be handling the guy for a little bit. Back up, cops. See if they can calm him down. Put your weapons down. That's going to only infuriate the man who's going through a mental crisis, so...
Yeah, the whole thing really sad, mishandled, and I hear you, man, and stay safe. So I appreciate your call this morning on WURD. 215-634-8065. Let's talk to Dr. Gooden on line 2. Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Good morning. This is Dr. Ayo Gooden. I'm the president of the Delaware Valley Association of Black Psychologists. And we would like to, first of all, offer people who are being traumatized free therapy. We can provide that to people if they'll give us a call. And our number is 267-282-1062. Again, that number 267. 267-282-1062. And I'd like to make a comment about the looting and the trauma as well. And first of all, black people need to understand that racists want us to loot and commit crimes so that they can justify assassinating us, men, women, and children. And that has been the pattern. We don't know whether or not some of these people are looting and angry out of the trauma of us being assassinated, but we can guarantee that if you have police standing by watching and not stopping that process, that they want it to occur. And when you understand how racism works, you understand that racists have to justify, at least to the general public, why they can assassinate us without any consequences. And the rationale that's used is look at what they're doing. They're violent, they're criminals, and they keep creating the propaganda. And then we have some blacks, and it's not all blacks out there doing this. It's just a few, but it only takes a few for them to justify the continuation of our assassinations. And so what we have to do is, instead of being angry and destroying even our own businesses, we need to decide we're going to stop spending money with them and spend money specifically with other black businesses. And if there isn't a business that provides that particular service, we need to put our money together and create those services and take our money away from the very people who are using our money to imprison us, to murder us, to assassinate us, and to keep us from getting the kind of opportunities that we deserve to have.
So, what's the number again for the free counseling?
Free counseling. You can call us at 267-282-1062, and our website is dvabpsi.org.
The number is going to be easier for people to remember. What's the number again?
It's 267-282-1062.
All right. I want to thank you so much for your call this morning on WURD Radio. 215-634-8065 is the number you can call to get in. 215-634-8065 is the number you can call to get in. I'm all for us spending money with black businesses, but here's what I've learned. I've learned that some of the people who have supported us the most aren't necessarily people who always look like us. I think about Brown's Family ShopRite. Jeff Brown is on the board of Man Up PHL. This is a guy who I have seen support our community over and over and over and over again. He ain't black, but I think we need to support those who support us. Certainly we need to support our own black businesses. We absolutely need to do that. But we also need to support those who support us. And I think that's important for us to say at a time like this, when you have people who are angry. And I think the other thing that we have to understand when we talk about what our young people do is who raised them, right? So I don't think, for me, we need to draw a distinction between the young and the old in the black community. I think we all in this thing together. And I think we all should take some credit for our achievements, but I think all of us have to look within ourselves and see what responsibility we have for our deficits, and work together in order to solve them. And so, I've just learned over time, man, that it doesn't help to condemn young people in our community. We have to figure out a way to dialogue with our young people and to be honest with our young people so that they can be honest with us. Let's go to Tony from North Philly on line 1. Go ahead, Tony.
Good morning, Solomon. Thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome, brother.
Hey, Solomon, you're a man that reads, or anybody that reads, this is the same tactics that Hitler used to gain power in Nazi Germany. And, how he used the Jewish people as the scapegoat. It's almost like fascism one-on-one. If you look at the whole thing, write down everything verbatim, Yeah. And also, I think when we start always trying to turn this madness in on ourselves, that borders on a form of self-hatred, if you feel what I'm saying. All right, my brother. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you for calling this morning on WURD Radio, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number that you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. Let us know where you are on these various things we're talking about on this morning show, 634-8065. You can, of course, also weigh in on Facebook at FORWURD, at FORWURD. That's FORWURD. Herman Downing says on Facebook, with all that said, Madam Senator, the cops still don't shoot white people, and that's a fact. So there's no special training needed for the cops because they're not equal opportunists. Cops know exactly what they're doing. So that's what Herman Downing thinks. Let's go to the phone lines and talk to Ann from North Philly on line 2. Go ahead, Ann.
Good morning, Solomon.
Good morning.
And Carissa, I know you listen. My thing was, after they looting and robbing all these stores, tearing up the stores and things, they might have frustration. And I thought about those store owners and things only trying to make a living, and think about why they didn't go to the police stations and try to tear up the police stations and things like that, because the officers are the ones that shot and killed Walt. And I thought, why didn't you go there? And I'm like, then Washington said, you mean to tell me they couldn't distract him from when I looked, one of the cops had good weight, things like that, or you couldn't run around and distract him and call out his name, and people standing there couldn't call out his name to distract him, to help the police and give his mother, some help, I mean, what's getting wrong? Like with this picture. And then I know people, we had done it sometime, I pray to God I don't have to do it again, where we ran around, called a person name and, and distract them and things like that. But sometimes, like they say, you have to do things, just react to it and do things for safety, and don't worry about sometimes, everybody probably worried about the outcome, and then some people probably worried about, if he survived, like I have seen in some cases, because I'm around a lot, this person survived, and they say, well, man, what happened? How did I get caught? How did I get this? So I'm going to say, well, man, I'm different. There's such one told on you wouldn't have got this. Come on. That the guy say, put all that stuff down and your mindset and do what's right. Thank you.
And I want to thank you so much for your call this morning on WRD. We got to go to break. On the other side, we are going to talk with dear Melanie. She has another hilarious answer to one of life's biggest questions. I'm Solomon Jones. We'll be right back.
I'm Philadelphia City Councilwoman Sherelle Parker, and this message is for the sisters. We wear a lot of hats. We're mothers, aunties and daughters, teachers, community leaders, and CEOs. We rise to the occasion every day. We're good at it too. And now, more than ever, we need to do what we do. Show up and show out this election. To organize, to make those calls and get out the vote. To stand up for our families and our communities, just like you do every single day, every single time. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are counting on us, and we know that we can count on them.
I'm Joe Biden, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Biden for president.
Man, this coronavirus has us all moving differently.
No doubt. Like washing our hands more and social distancing with the crew. I'm always telling people to give me 6 feet. We're here, Grandma.
There's my babies. Good to see you got your mask on.
Wear mask. Stop the spread. For more information, visit www.pa.gov/COVID.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
This year has been unprecedented. From the COVID pandemic to nationwide protests addressing systemic racism and calling for criminal justice reform. For weeks, we've been reminding you to make your voice heard in this election, and now is the time to act. Voting is how we empower our communities, and this election day, we can make things happen for us instead of letting things happen to us. So use your power and make your plan to vote today. If you signed up to vote by mail, don't wait. Complete your ballot, put it in the small envelope and seal it. Then put it in a larger envelope and seal that too. Sign and date it. Then drop off your ballot at your county election office today. If you have not signed up to vote by mail, go to the polls on Tuesday, November 3rd. Make sure to confirm your polling location and don't forget to wear a mask. Polling places are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Election Day. To find your county election office or polling location, visit votespa.com. Take your power to the polls and vote. Paid for by Power Interfaith.
Listen to Laborers Live.
We created the weekend. We created the 40-hour work week. We just want enough to feed our family, be able to send our children to college, and let our next generation do better than we did.
The people that might have forgot how important unionism is in a country like the United States. People now infringing on our 8-hour workday, kind of work people more than 8 hours without overtime, kind of work people without benefits. In the long run, everybody's getting a fat paycheck except the worker. So this is really a wake-up call for America.
The struggle is continuous. Tune in to Laborers Live every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Sponsored by LESIT, the Laborers Employers Cooperation Education Trust of the Laborers District Council of Philadelphia and vicinity.
Local 332, Sam Staten Jr. Business Manager. Local 57, Esteban Vera Business Manager. Local 135, Dan Woodall Jr. Business Manager. Local 413, James Harper Jr. Business Manager. The Laborers District Council, Ryan Boyer Business Manager, and Tony Staten, Executive Director of LESIT.
Lifting every voice till earth and heaven ring. This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Black Talk Media. Back by popular demand. It's Wake Up with WURD, hosted by Solomon Jones. Right now on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Your favorite cousin of mine, that's right, Melanie Bryant Hurst. Dear Melanie, she's a doctoral candidate in social work at Wilder University, First Lady of Mount Pisgah AME in Jersey City, New Jersey, where Reverend Dr. Stanley Hurst II is the pastor. Good morning, Melanie. How are you?
I'm good, Solomon. How are you?
I'm doing great. So,
good.
I got another one of those questions, though.
Okay.
Are you ready? Mm-hmm. All right, here it is. Dear Melanie, my brother-in-law is a great guy. When he visits, it's all fun and games, but just like all good things, his visits must come to an end, except these days, they don't. Last time he came for dinner, he ended up staying a week. Another time, he was in the neighborhood, and when his month-long stay was up, it felt like he had moved in. Today, he's here for lunch, but I see luggage in the car. I can't take another long visit, but how do I get him to leave without hurting his feelings? Signed, Ain't no sunshine till he's gone.
Lord, he got luggage in the car. This cannot be good. Okay, listen, let's just jump right into it, okay?
Okay.
There are 3 possible ways to get your brother-in-law good and gone, okay? Now, I want to be able to lay out all the options so you can choose based on your personal situation.
Okay.
And for the record, WURD, Melanie Bryant Hurst, Solomon Jones, or anyone else is responsible for any outcome should you use any of these methods. I just got to put it out there,
you go.
From the beginning, okay? Listen, number 1, be passive-aggressive. Now, listen, that is the easiest thing to do. It won't overtly ruffle any feathers, but if done correctly, it might make your brother-in-law disappear, okay? I'm just keeping it real. Now, first, it starts on Facebook because that's where all passive aggressiveness begins on social media. So just find some memes and some quotes that talk about people who are inconsiderate. Perhaps something with a picture of someone skipping through the field of lilies with the caption, "Don't be afraid to remove toxic and overbearing family members from your life." Hashtag be blessed with an out-of-context scripture reference. Okay, listen, that's how it does. I guarantee that if you do this for long enough, you're going to make everybody angry at something, including yourself, for being so passive-aggressive. Hashtag facts, okay? Now, listen, let's move to number 2.
Okay, number 2.
Doesn't work. If that doesn't work for you, we're going to move to number 2. Now, this is still along the lines of a passive-aggressive, but it's a little more of a direct approach. So next time he stops by for a meal, stage an emergency just before he grabs his stuff from the car, okay? Now, you have to think about this this plan, in order for it to work, okay? So the emergency might need to be a house-related problem that gets everybody out of the house for a long period of time. For example, when you answer your fake phone call like this, "Hey, ADT, thanks for calling." "What? It's a carbon monoxide in the house. We all need to leave now and not come back for 30 days. Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much, ADT. Now, I guarantee for at least 30 days you'll live in peace. Or, number three, just tell the truth. I know you're concerned about hurting his feelings, but when we tell the truth in love, people sometimes can receive it a little bit better. So first you have to have a conversation with your wife. After all, this ain't your brother. Our brother. So you have to let her know how you feel about all of these impromptu visits. Perhaps both of you can come up with some type of a schedule of visits so he can come when he, on schedule. Then talk to your brother-in-law. First, find out if there's a reason he's there all the time. Maybe he's having some issues where he lives. Maybe it's a financial situation. But start the conversation with genuine conversation about him and with the spirit of trying to understand what's really happening in his life. If he's struggling with something that prevents him from staying at his own house, as a family, you all might be able to come together and help him walk through some things. But you've got to be firm when you tell him, "Listen, bruh, you can't keep popping up here and staying here for weeks and months at a time because we're running out of toilet paper, and that toilet paper costs a lot of money." Okay? So I'm just keeping it real.
That's right. That's right.
Kind, you get the CVS kind, you might be able to pay 50 cents a roll, but the good kind, it's a lot of money.
That's
okay?
right. That's right.
So those are the three things that I'm sure will help this situation. But if none of that works, it's time to pull out the big gun. It's time to go where no one goes except for one night of every year. Solomon, it's time to do what I and millions of other people will be doing tomorrow night, beginning at about 5:30 p.m., because tomorrow is Halloween. That's right. It's time to turn off all the lights, ignore the doorbell, and pretend like nobody knows. It doesn't matter, okay? It doesn't matter if the TV can be heard from the bottom step.
Right.
The lights are off. Nobody's home. It don't matter if you appear on the doorstep in your PJs to retrieve your Uber Eats order and go back into the house. The lights are off. Nobody's home. It doesn't matter if he calls you on the phone and says, "I know you're in the house." Solomon, all you got to do is laugh and say, "Bruh, the lights are off. Ain't nobody home." There you go. If this don't work, Solomon, I don't know what to tell the people.
I know that's right.
That one of those are definitely going to work.
And again, we are not responsible for the outcome if you use any of this advice.
We surely ain't. I don't know where some of this stuff is going to get. We are not responsible. Okay?
That's right. We ain't home. I mean, I like that one. Just turn off the light. We ain't home.
Solomon, they're going to start ringing this doorbell tomorrow at about 5:32. Okay, and I'm going to be sitting right there. Lights off, nobody's home. And I don't even care. You don't think they're so cute, too? I don't care.
Oh, wow. You going to do that to the kids?
Solomon, we don't got no candy. And then they're so picky nowadays. We only want Snickers and M&M's. And you ain't getting this. Because all we got is church peppermint. So I'm so sorry. We ain't answering the door. The lights are off because there's nobody home.
Wow.
Listen. I'm keeping it real.
You keeping it real. You keeping it real. I mean, we got to do what we got to do. That is absolutely what it's about. That is your favorite cousin of mine, Melanie Bryant Hurst. Dear Melanie, she's a doctoral candidate in social work at Wyoming University, First Lady of Mount Pisgah AME in Jersey City, New Jersey, where the Reverend Dr. Stanley Hurst II is the pastor. Melanie, thanks so much.
Talk to you later, Solomon.
All right, talk to you later. All right, so that is Melanie Bryant Hurst, my crazy cousin. I need to hear from you. Give us a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number that you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. You could, of course, also weigh in on Facebook at onWURD, at FORWURD. That's FORWURD, and let us know where you are on these various things that we are talking about on this morning's show. So regarding the shooting that took place, Flo HB says these two officers should be fired. So that is her comment. Nikki Carter says, I was looking at some of the police they had out there standing against the wall, and they all were huge. Like, where are these police from? Are they just desk cops? Along with the mental evaluation of these cops, there needs to be health tests, because what I saw did not look like a force that should even be on the street. Cops like these are not running. They are shooting. Melissa Brunson says there should be a mental health crisis coordinator in all cities, and in situations like this, the person can be subdued safely and get help instead of a traumatized family planning a funeral. Lean Love says, Melanie, tell the truth. Shame the devil. Be straight up with that brother-in-law. Malcolm White said, Melanie is too funny. And then Tia Hicks says she's right. Just tell him the truth. And then you got Diane Fassett says, LOL, Melanie, what happens if he don't leave? And then you got Josephine Richardson says, girl, you too funny. And Marywell Briggs says, straight up, I say straight up that no one is staying over. So I want to hear from you. Give us a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number that you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. Let us know where you are on these various things we're talking about on this morning show, 215-634-8065. So what do? You got that brother-in-law that just, he come and, you know, it's your wife's brother. What you going to do? You know what I mean? He don't want to leave. She don't want him to leave. She know he in trouble. She try to take care. But you like, look, you know, we need a little bit of privacy. So what do? I want to hear from you. 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. Of course, Halloween is coming up. And are you going to be giving out any candy? I want to know. What are you going to do? 215-634-8065. Because guess what? Now we're in the middle of a pandemic, right? Do you trust your kids to get candy from other people? You know, what might be on it? Who might be serving it? Did they wash their hands? Do they have the virus? Like, I want to know what you think. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number that you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. Let us know where you are on these various things we're talking about on this morning show. We know that the National Guard is supposed to be deployed to the city of Philadelphia to deal with the fallout from the Walter Wallace shooting by those police officers on Monday in West Philly. And I want to know what you guys are seeing out there. So give us a call. Let us know, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. I know the last time that happened, it was surreal. You know, I went up on Wadsworth Avenue in my community, and I see the National Guard. I went downtown with my son. He wanted to protest around the George Floyd shooting, so I went downtown with him. He met up with his friends. I kind of watched him from a distance, make sure nothing's going to happen to my son. But the National Guard were surrounding City Hall. And I remember during that time, and it was, you know, before they removed the Rizzo statue, I remember seeing some white police officers, quite frankly, taking pictures with the Rizzo statue, posing with the Rizzo statue as this uprising was going on. And it was such a strange thing to see all of that happening. You've got the young people who are preparing to protest. You've got the police officers who were lined up on horses by the Ben Franklin statue across from City Hall. You've got National Guardsmen and their vehicles surrounding City Hall. there was still the burn mark in the middle of the street from the police car that had been burned the day before. And it was such an unreal thing to see, all of those things kind of taking place and coalescing all at the same time. And now you add in an election that's coming up in less than a week, and the president talking about sending in the feds. And I just think we have to take a moment to figure out, what we want to do and how we want to do it and how we want to move forward. I know people are angry, and I'm not prepared to tell people not to be angry, because you should be. I'm not prepared to tell people not to protest, because you should. But I think that we also have to keep in mind, and this is why what we do here is so important, because I think that we have the opportunity to put all of it in context so that people understand the choices that they have, right? You have a president who stood up on the debate stage. Somebody earlier said he said it at a rally, but it was actually on the debate stage, and said bad things happen in Philadelphia. He was talking about the election and about voting and about the 17 satellite offices where people had the opportunity to turn in their mail-in ballots. The president wanted people to go there and try to intimidate voters while they were trying to turn in their mail-in ballots, as if that was an actual polling place and it was actually election day, which is actually the only time that by law certified poll watchers can come in and watch what happens at the polls. That's the only time folks are allowed to do that. You're not allowed to do that at satellite offices. You're not allowed to watch people registering to vote, filling out their mail-in ballot. You're not allowed to do that, but that's what he wanted people to do. And when they tried it, they were turned away, and he stood up on the debate stage and said bad things happen in Philadelphia. Let me tell you something. The president wants chaos in Philadelphia on and around Election Day so that he can suppress the vote, because that is the only opportunity he will have, in my view, to win this state, right? Philadelphians have already gone out in huge numbers and voted early. And so there will be another huge influx of voters on Election Day unless there is chaos. Do you want to give him the chaos that he is looking for so that he can suppress the vote and stay in office and continue to support the very police officers who are killing us? That's the whole picture. And so when we see that whole picture, we have a decision to make, right? And again, I'm not prepared to tell people don't protest. No, you need to be angry and you need to be protesting, but you also need to understand that there are those who want chaos around this election because that's the only real chance they have to win. Do you really want to give them what they want? I want to hear from you. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. Sister Murray from Nicetown is on line one. Go ahead, Sister Murray.
Good morning, Solomon. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you?
I'm blessed. It's always a pleasure to hear from your cousin Melanie. And by the way, how is Coesa doing?
She's fine.
Good. Solomon, real quick, the therapist that calls, I'm so glad that somebody is stepping in and saying we will give free care because those who don't have health insurance, so they know that they can get the help that they need, because mental health was already bad before this pandemic. And unfortunately, because of the situations that we're faced with by being locked down in the house, kids out of school, parents lost jobs, mental health has gotten even more prevalent. But also, there was a white young guy in Lake Nakamixon that got shot the other day. And you realize you don't see his family out there tearing down stores. Even though they don't know who did it, they're not tearing up stuff. And I know that this is probably the first white person that probably was on TV that got shot by accidental. And I know it's a disproportionately more way black people to get killed by cops. But we have to stay focused, because everything that you just got finished talking about number 45, about Philadelphia, he's trying to make us go crazy by being depressed and stressed out about money and jobs and all kinds of things, so that we will go out here and fall right into the trap. You know, the lion never sleeps, and that's exactly what he is. We know we're facing with Lucifer. That's who's in office. We got to stay focused, and we got to stop. We don't have enough stores out here as it is. Stop tearing up your neighborhood.
I hear you. We got to go to break, though, and I want to thank you so much for your call this morning on WURD Radio. On the other side, we're going to talk with Sabrina Corlett. She's a research professor at Georgetown University about what would happen if the Affordable Care Act was gutted by the Supreme Court. I'm Solomon Jones. We'll be right back.
I'm Philadelphia City Councilwoman Sherelle Parker, and this message is for the sisters. We wear a lot of hats. We're mothers, aunties and daughters, teachers, community leaders, and CEOs. We rise to the occasion every day. We're good at it too. And now, more than ever, we need to do what we do. Show up and show out this election. To organize, to make those calls and get out the vote. To stand up for our families and our communities, just like you do every single day, every single time. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are counting on us, and we know that we can count on them.
I'm Joe Biden, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Biden for president.
The pandemic is not only putting everyone's health at risk, it's also impacted our jobs and retirement security. And it's disproportionately affecting African Americans, especially those 50 plus. That's why AARP Pennsylvania is fighting for your voice to be heard. If you haven't voted yet, now is the time to learn about your voting options and cast your ballot. We're working to make sure you can vote safely, whether you choose to vote from home or in person. And if you choose to vote by mail, make sure you return your ballot using both envelopes. Your ballot goes in the smaller envelope for secrecy, and that goes into the larger envelope for mailing. Also, don't forget to sign the voter declaration on the back. Your voice matters. Make sure it's heard. Go to aarp.org/PA votes to learn about your voting options and how to vote safely this election. Visit aarp.org/PA votes today. Paid for by AARP.
Philadelphia, old, young, and all in between. We've got to get out and rock the vote in this election. We have the power to make a difference, but we cannot make that difference without your vote. Vote by mail or vote in person. Our vote is the voice that will save our lives. This message is sponsored by the Leon H. Sullivan Charitable Trust.
Dietz & Watson has been making premium meats and artisan cheeses for over 80 years. And when it comes to stacking sandwiches and party platters, they've got something for everyone in the family, like maple honey turkey breast, American cheese, buffalo chicken, and more. So get to your local deli and taste 4 generations of family recipes. With Dietz & Watson on the table, you'll have everyone coming back for seconds and thirds. Dietz & Watson, it's a family thing since 1939.
Remember when Trump defended neo-Nazis?
You also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
Or downplayed the coronavirus?
It's going to disappear one day. It's like a miracle.
It's time to fire politicians who failed us and elect leaders who will fight systemic racism, have a plan to beat the coronavirus, and will address bias in our healthcare system. This election, remember whose side Trump is on, not yours. Request a ballot now. Make a plan to vote. Our lives depend on it. Paid for by the NAACP.
Hello, my name is Hassan Bennett. I did 13 years in prison for a crime I didn't commit. Over-policing in our community has led to over 100 casualties like mine. It's time we, the people, take control of our future. And we do this on November 3rd by voting to make communities safer and the system fairer.
Paid for by Black Vote PA, which is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. www.theelectionisnow.com.
It's Wake Up with Word, hosted by Solomon Jones. Right now on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM, and 900 AM WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD. And I want to welcome you back to Wake Up with WURD. Sabrina Corlett is a research professor, founder and co-director of the Center on Health Insurance Reforms at Georgetown University's McCourt School of Public Policy. Good morning, Ms. Corlett. How are you?
Good morning. Happy to be here.
Yep, happy to have you. So, the Affordable Care Act is one of the things that is going to come up on the docket of the Supreme Court, which now has a 6-3 conservative majority, thanks to the confirmation of now Justice Amy Coney Barrett. And so what could happen, according to the research that you've done, if the Affordable Care Act is shot down or gutted by the Supreme Court?
Well, it would not be good. The projections are that as many as 23 million people could lose their health insurance. We could also lose some of the protections that are in the Affordable Care Act for people who have health conditions, chronic disease, or other health issues that might cause them to be rejected by an insurance company or charged a higher premium. So those protections could fall away if the Supreme Court goes with the Trump administration and strikes down the law.
Mm-hmm. And so what are considered pre-existing conditions? We hear a lot of talk about pre-existing conditions and how insurance companies can charge you more for that. What are pre-existing conditions, and how does that work from an insurance perspective?
Well, before the Affordable Care Act, it was really the insurance companies that got to decide what a pre-existing condition was, and it was everything from asthma to eczema. It could be seasonal allergies. It could be a heart condition. It could be diabetes. It could be the fact that several years ago you had cancer, even if you're in remission. It could be being a woman, because women who are of childbearing age, insurance companies don't want to cover them. So they literally maintained lists of hundreds and hundreds of different conditions that could cause you to either be denied or charged a higher premium.
And so when the Affordable Care Act came along, it protected people with pre-existing conditions. How did it do that?
Sure. So before the ACA or Affordable Care Act, there were several different ways that insurers could sort of discourage sicker people from getting coverage. One was just to deny you outright, right? You apply for a policy, they look at your health history, and they say, sorry, we don't want to cover you. Another approach is they might give you a policy but say, we're going to charge you more. We'll charge a healthy person $100 a month, but you get charged $150 a month or $200 a month. Another thing they did often was just impose what's called a pre-existing exclusion on your policy. So they would say, we're going to cover you, but we see, Solomon, that you have asthma, so we're not going to cover anything related to an upper respiratory condition. Those were all common tactics before the Affordable Care Act, and the ACA banned all of those things.
And so now you've got, I think, 8 million people have been infected with the novel coronavirus. Could that be considered a pre-existing condition if the ACA is struck down?
Well, yes. If an insurance company, looks at what we know about coronavirus, and we do know there are sort of these potential long-term health effects, it would be up to the insurance company to decide, but it is certainly possible that they will look at somebody who had a diagnosis of COVID-19 and say, oof, we think you're a riskier bet, and so we're going to charge you more, or we don't want to cover you at all.
Wow. And so with all of these things at risk, what protections could be put in place to, I guess, replace that protection for people with pre-existing conditions? Could it be something that could be done on the congressional level or in some other way?
Sure. If we have a change in administration, if we have a new president, President Biden, and if the Senate changes from GOP to Democratic hands, they could solve this problem in an instant. It really, they could essentially make the case so that it's what's called mooted before the Supreme Court, so that there's really no issue for the Supreme Court to decide. So that would be the simplest option, but obviously a lot depends on the outcome of November 3rd.
Now, the individual mandate plays a role in the case that's before the court now. Can you explain what the individual mandate is and what happened in 2017 with the GOP-led Congress concerning that individual mandate?
Yeah, sure. So when the ACA or Affordable Care Act was written, it provided all these protections for people with pre-existing conditions. But the concern was that people would wait until they got sick before signing up for insurance, which means that only sick people would have insurance and it would become very expensive. So to protect against that, the law said you need to sign up for insurance whether or not you're sick, even if you're healthy, and if you don't, we're going to charge you a tax penalty. That is what was repealed in 2017. They essentially made the tax penalty zero. So if you don't have health insurance, you don't pay a penalty anymore. And that really is the crux of the issue before the Supreme Court. The plaintiffs and the Trump administration are arguing that with the penalty being $0, it's no longer a tax. And so it is an unconstitutional exercise of Congress's power to have this individual mandate. So that's the issue. And if the Supreme Court decides that it is indeed unconstitutional and also non-severable, this is a legal term, from the rest of the Affordable Care Act, that's the concern, is that they'll just strike the whole law down.
I'm curious, in your research, how have you found the Affordable Care Act has affected people, who are in need of insurance or people who have insurance? How has it affected what happens with insurance in this country?
Well, first of all, I think we're seeing this especially now with the COVID-19 pandemic, where a lot of folks are losing access to their job-based insurance. Or losing income, and what we're seeing is that the Affordable Care Act provides a real safety net. So you might, if you lose income or lose your coverage, you might be able to qualify for Medicaid or subsidized insurance on the Affordable Care Act marketplace. And so that is a critical protection. And then the other thing, which we've talked about, is insurance companies can no longer deny you or charge you more based on your health status. And that really is a big change from 10 years ago when the law was enacted.
All right. So we'll have to see what happens with this case that's coming before the Supreme Court. I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning. That's Professor Sabrina Corlett from Georgetown University's McCourt School of Public Policy. Thanks so much for joining us this morning on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So I want to hear from you. Give us a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. Who tries to get rid of people's health insurance in the middle of a pandemic? Like, how mean can you be? And, I wonder how history is going to look at all of this, where you have a president who says, there are good people on both sides, talking about neo-Nazis, right? When you have a president who calls black countries crap holes, and I'm saying it nicely because this is the radio, and we'll get fined. But when you have a president who encourages white supremacists, and then on top of that mishandles a whole pandemic where 200-some thousand Americans have died, right? 8 million Americans infected. And then on top of mishandling it, right, outright undermining the advice of the health professionals who told us what to do to deal with this pandemic, could have saved hundreds of thousands of lives, but didn't. On top of that, you're going to try to take people health insurance too? How is history going to view that? I want to know what you think. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. Let's talk to Shakumba from Southwest on line 1. Good morning.
Well, first of all, I did want to talk about the shooting. But in terms of how history is going to portray him, it depends on who writes the history. Okay? Now, getting back to the shooting, okay? There's too many instances where white folks, especially white men, come out with guns, and they don't get all shot up. My misunderstanding is, why weren't they shooting at his feet? Or they take shooting practice all the time. Why couldn't somebody shoot him in the hand or the arm? Why did they have to put 15 bullets in the main part of his body? I don't think that's what
they're trained to shoot center mass, right in the core of the body, because if you try to shoot somebody in the leg, you might miss.
Like some of them shots didn't miss?
No, some of those shots did miss, but
Yeah.
my understanding from what the family said is about 10 of them hit them. But if you, I'm just telling you why they're trained that way. They're trained that way because if you try to shoot somebody in the leg, they moving. You try to shoot them in the hand, they moving. You will probably miss, and that's why they're trained to shoot center mass.
Well, if you hit them in the leg, the bullets will probably go to the ground. Okay? So, right, you don't want to shoot them in the hand, fine. You just shoot them in the leg and it goes to the ground. Okay? Some of them bullets miss anyway. Okay, so there's too many instances of where white folks come out there with guns and knives, and yet they talk them down and they don't get shot. And there's a lot of examples that you go on the web, a lot of examples of that. But yet when it comes to a black person, it doesn't seem like none of them survive. It's like it's 99% they dead, and 1% they survive.
Okay. I want to thank you for your call this morning on WURD. Let's go to Sister C from West Oak Lane on line 2. Go ahead, Sister C.
Yes, good morning to you. Always a pleasure to hear you, and it's hard to remain hopeful. But, if anybody asks me, I say, on Christ the solid rock I stand, all other ground is sinking sand. My question for you this morning
That's my grandfather's favorite hymn.
Okay, well, it's my favorite life lesson, I'm telling you. Excellent show also. My question this morning, I wanted to know, on the ballot, they have that, I think it's a question about a civilian review board.
Yes.
And my question is, do they have subpoena power? Because those police union contracts run on precedent. And I think we need to deal with that, in a very legal manner, because they overrule any challenges on so many ends. And if that group does not have subpoena power, it's not going to. It's going to be very. What they're able to accomplish will be thwarted in a minute and at any time. So that's my question. I think that we need to work and be aware of what the police union contracts are bringing to the table, and what our ability is to really look at any type of violations that we might see. And they'll work. They're going to try to prevent change.
Of course they are.
They're going to every day. They're going to
right.
And a lot of things have been laid in stone. But the subpoena power, I believe, is very crucial for the empowerment of that board.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for your call this morning on WURD. We had Councilwoman Jamie Gaudier on yesterday, and I asked her several questions about how that Citizens Review Commission concerning policing would be different from the Police Advisory Board that we have now, which has no power, no teeth, no anything really. It's just, it's there. And she said that we would have to formulate what it would be and how it would operate. So in other words, we don't know yet what that thing would be. It would have to be something that would be decided after folks agree to have it. So make of that what you will. We're going to go to break. On the other side, we're going to continue the show right here with your calls at 215-634-8065. I'm Solomon Jones. We'll be right back.
Walter E. Sabbath Jr. Funeral Service is an independent family-owned funeral and cremation service that has been serving families for over 27 years. We strive to provide compassionate and quality service for all faiths. For pre-need and at-need funeral service planning with a personal touch, call us day or night at 215-924-4101. At Walter E. Sabbath Jr. Funeral Service, we know that whether families choose burial or cremation, the emotional and information needs are the same. Our combination of a licensed funeral director and social worker enables us to meet families where they are and lead them step by step through the many choices before them. If you are looking for a funeral service deemed by our families to be compassionate and professional, we encourage you to call Walter E. Sabbath Jr. Funeral Service at 215-924-4101. That's 215-924-4101. Or visit us at 7224 Ogons Avenue in the West Oak Lane section of Philadelphia. God bless you.
Do you have a Pennsylvania criminal record holding you back from jobs, housing, education, and more? Find out if you're eligible for criminal record clearing services with Philadelphia Lawyers for Social Equity. Apply online at plsephilly.org or join our virtual clinics and speak with a law student for free. Join us on Zoom Friday, October 30th and November 13th from 2 to 4, or Saturday, October 24th and November 14th from 11 to 1. Get the link on our website, plsephilly.org. Hope to see you there.
I'm Philadelphia City Councilwoman Sherelle Parker, and this message is for the sisters. We wear a lot of hats. We're mothers, aunties and daughters, teachers, community leaders, and CEOs. We rise to the occasion every day. We're good at it too. And now, more than ever, we need to do what we do. Show up and show out this election, to organize, to make those calls and get out the vote, to stand up for our families and our communities, just like you do every single day, every single time. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are counting on us, and we know that we can count on them.
I'm Joe Biden, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Biden for president.
He's back.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton.
Keeping it real with the Reverend Al Sharpton.
In times like these, we have to stay connected.
At a brand new time, Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. till midnight.
I'm excited that Keeping It Real returns to WURD.
Keeping it real with the Reverend Al Sharpton. Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. till midnight. This program is pre-recorded. No phone calls, please.
Keep it locked to WURD 96.1 FM, 900 AM. WURDradio.com.
It's Wake Up with Word, hosted by Solomon Jones. Good morning. Right now on Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD. And I want to welcome you back to Wake Up with Word. We are, of course, taking your calls at 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD. Before I go to the phone line, I was going to read a couple of the comments we got on Facebook. Carla Morris says this. There are people who live in chaos, engage in activities that promote chaos, and want nothing more than chaos. That is exactly why they continue to vote Democratic. If you want things to change, do things differently. Take responsibility and hold individuals responsible. So, Carla, are you saying we should vote for Trump? I want to know why. Give me a call. Let me know. 215-634-8065. Mary Melly Briggs says this. They want people to die, so that's why they're trying to end health insurance. Coronavirus is a man-made virus to control the population. They knew what they were doing. I don't know about that, but I do think that it's reprehensible to try to take people's health insurance away in the middle of a pandemic. Sharon Lane says this, you can shoot in the leg, as Solomon said, they could move and an innocent person could be injured. Yeah, that's why they're taught that the aim center mass so that they don't miss. Now, when you aim center mass, should you shoot the person 7, 8, 9, 14 times? I don't know about that. And we will see. We want the body cam footage released. They were wearing body cams. I want to see the body cam footage. You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens, but we're going to take your calls, beginning with Ant from Willingboro on line 1. Go ahead, Ant.
Hey, good morning. How you doing, dude?
Good, man. How are you?
No, I'm okay. No pepper spray, no taser. I cannot believe that. Now, this is what they were looking for, was to fire on him. Now, unfortunately, this is going to go down as a clean shoot. He had a knife in his hand, and it looked like he was coming at them. These grand juries are going to call that a clean shoot. Now, his mother was trying to stop him. Yeah, see? Now, Solomon, I would tell you, when I was doing the armed guard stuff, I had pepper spray, nightstick, stickers. I used that pepper spray to push people back, and it worked. I don't know what these police departments are talking about. They got to go straight for the weapon. If one unarmed guard can do the work of 3 men, then you know that they lying when they say they fear for their lives and they got to shoot. You know what I mean? Comment?
I do. And I want to thank you, Ed, for your call this morning on WRD. That's actually Ed from Willingboro. But I want to thank you for your call. Let's go to Olanian from Nicetown on line 2. Go ahead, Olanian.
Good morning. Ed just said the same thing that I was going to say. What happened to the pepper spray? What happened to the guns that aren't made with bullets that kill people? What happens with their abilities to do martial arts? We pay these people thousands of dollars to learn with police training, and they can't utilize what they don't know other than to use a gun. That's really wrong. So I just want to say the same thing that he said from Ed. They could have used other non-lethal methods, but they didn't because they don't want to.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I want to thank you for your call this morning on WURD Radio. Let's go to Gail from the Northeast on line 3. Go ahead, Gail.
Good morning, Solomon. I just want to say they had been out to that house at 3 different occasions, so they already knew that there was a mental health issue. The same thing happened on my block. It was a young man. He had mental health issues. He was out running across the roofs, and it was the men and my son. Actually, when the police officers came, they didn't draw weapons. They called the fire department. They talked to him. They got him down. We had photos of what went on. It doesn't have to end that way. It's the mentality that comes in, and the people were saying he needs help. He doesn't need to be killed. And he had a knife and a brick. So, therefore, it can be done. They chose not to. Thank you, Solomon.
All right. I want to thank you for your call this morning on WURD. Let's go to Dolores from South Philly on line 4. Go ahead, Dolores.
Hello?
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Is this Dolores?
This make me, yes.
Okay.
This make
go
me
ahead.
think of the picture with Samuel Jackson. What happened to the negotiator to talk people down? You know, the police department don't have negotiators anymore.
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's what I thought they were for. When you're going to jump off the bridge or a building, they call a negotiator in and talk you down.
Yeah, I just think the thing that's most damning about this case is that that was the third time they had been to that house that day, and so you know, somebody knew what was happening in that house, and to come out for the third time in a single day, knowing that somebody there is going through a mental health crisis, having the people on the scene tell you this person is going through a mental health crisis, and to decide to shoot that person dead. To me, there's no excuse. I have to be honest. There's no excuse.
Thank you, Solomon.
All right. I want to thank you for your call this morning on WURD. Let's go to Joyce from Frankfurt on line 1. Go ahead, Joyce.
Good morning, Solomon.
Good morning.
I'm trying to get this out. Sometimes when I call up here, I'm nervous, and then sometimes I'm not. But
okay.
One of the hosts of your radio station went to the meeting last night that they had about the police shooting.
Yes.
And she said that they showed a video of a white guy in a similar situation with a knife to show the difference between how they treat a white guy and a black guy. And I was just curious about how whoever was in that room, the politicians or whoever they were, I wonder how did they respond to that? Because in order to solve a problem, you have to acknowledge it.
You know, it's funny because that's exactly what I wrote in my column in the Inquirer, which is available today. I mean, the exact same thing. Here's what I said. Walter Wallace Jr. would not have been subjected to a barrage of bullets, endangering bystanders and his family if he were a white man in a white community. White mass murderers get better treatment than that. And if we're going to save the next Walter Wallace Jr., we must first acknowledge that reality. You're exactly right. And those are exactly my thoughts. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. This would not have happened. Let me be clear. This would not have happened if he were white.
I'm trying. I'm gonna make it simple. If I'm work for the police force and I'm training police, you got 2 videos. It's simple. You got 2 videos. In one video, they're shooting the black guy. In the other video, they're saving the white guy's life. And tell the cops, do it like you did the white guy. That's
exactly.
That's
exactly.
All right, thank you.
Exactly. You are exactly right. And, you know, we are on the same page. I go to the police academy and speak to graduating classes on behalf of the community. I've done it for the last 3 years or so because the Guardian Civic League asked me to. And my main message to them is this, that all we want is to be treated like everybody else, right? So if a white person would survive this situation, we want to survive this situation. If a white person would get a ticket and a warning, we want to get a ticket and a warning. Like, it's the, you know, we just, ain't nobody asking for nothing special. What we want is equal treatment under the law, like is guaranteed to us in the Constitution. That's what we want, right? And so that is your job. You know what I mean? And I think the sooner we recognize that there is a huge difference between the way that white folks are treated by cops and the way that black folks are treated by cops, that has to be acknowledged, because you cannot solve a problem unless you acknowledge it. You know, I want to hear from you. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. We only got a couple minutes left. Let's go to Eugenia from South Philly on line 2. Go ahead, Eugenia.
Oh, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, wait, let me get off speaker. Just wanted to say that, you know, my heart goes out to the Walter family.
And Walter Wallace family.
Yes, and Philadelphia in general, because we are for some mess, because I heard on the news this morning that Donald Trump was, well, he already sent sent the people out in Philadelphia. But he also made a statement that whoever wins, he doesn't stick the people out on Biden. So he knows he's not going to win. But here's my thing. My daughter and I, we went walking out yesterday last night around 9 o'clock. And up on the wall is the empty 7-Eleven that got the wood, closed off. And somebody said F-U-C-K, Walter. And I truly believe it wasn't from the neighborhood community there on Lombard Street, 22nd and Lombard. I believe that was the people that Trump had already sent out in Philadelphia. And it's such a shame. We got to pray. We've got to pray.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do. And I want to thank you so much for your call this morning on WURD Radio. Let's go back to the phone lines. 215-634-8065 is the number. And let's talk with Sal from Mount Airy on line 3. Go ahead.
Hi, Solomon. Great show. Thank you so much. Very informative. When your guest was talking, it occurred to me that racism is a pre-existing condition in this country. The mental health issue is big, but the racism is big. I am not a person of color. I acknowledge that white people are treated very differently, and it sickens me. It sickens me. Why aren't these trained for tasers? They have tasers. Why aren't they trained to use them?
Well, they didn't. These two officers didn't have tasers, which is crazy.
And I think a speaker a few days ago said that 5 years ago that was the recommendation from the Holder sort of study. So why I think these answers. The police commissioner has to answer these questions. It's just I live in Mount Airy, and I was surprised that they boarded up the CVS, and in fact it was burgled last night. And so it's not. I think it's really a lot of outside agitators. I think there's legitimate reason for anger. I'm angry, and I'm not even black. I'm angry. So there's reason for anger, but I think we have to be careful about if we demonstrate peaceably. We need to make sure that the agitators are sort of don't have the chance to take over the narrative.
I agree.
And I just have one national question for you, and I think the Republicans in their 2 years pushed through it. They had 2 years of Congress, 2 years of the president, and the only thing they did was push through a tax bill for their rich friends. If the Democrats have both houses of Congress and the presidency, and they have one thing to push through in 2 years, what do you think they should focus on?
Ooh, I think it has to be economic, and I think it has to be tax breaks and tax incentives for those who are in the middle class and in poverty. I think that it has to be about creating economic parity and opportunity in the United States. So I think it should be a tax bill that is about those who are in the middle class and those who are in poverty. That's what I think they should push through. It has to be economic.
I totally agree, but what will happen then is that the Republicans who don't care about the deficit now will start screaming deficit. And it seems like the Democrats always fix these, Obama fixed the 2008 mess that Bush called. Clinton fixed the mess, the Reaganomics mess. I mean, I think you're right. I totally agree. I just see what's going to happen is that the Republicans are going to the two-faced Republicans are going to say, well, you can't run up the deficit like that because they.
That's all right. They can say it if they're not in the majority. It doesn't really matter. I want to thank you so much for your call. I want to thank everybody who tuned in on today's show, and I want to thank all of our guests, including Ambassador and former U.S. Senator Carol Mosley Braun, Temple Professor Lynn Washington, Georgetown researcher Sabrina Corlett, and your favorite cousin of mine, dear Melanie, and now for producer Jordan Booth, who's doing a fantastic job sitting in for Kwesa, and everyone here at WURD Radio. I am your host, Solomon Jones, saying stay tuned for Reality Check with Charles Ellison, and tune in tomorrow at 7 for more Wake Up with Word. Peace.